Live from the North Park Lounge, Richland, and the Hilltop Event Center, it is Steel City Sunday Wild Card Weekend edition. We're excited to be live and in color here at the North Park Lounge, Richland. We're in the, I forget what they call this room. I think it's called the Sim Room. They have us kind of like in our own little space. Actually, kind of cool. I kind of like it.
Golf
nice and quiet
simulator here.
Yeah, they got the golf simulator. That's Bill Akins, of course, joins me every single week. Our fabulous producer and, of course, talent extraordinaire, host of Gridiron. Several shows here on the network. Not this network, but the It's a Wrap Sports Network. He hosts the Pittsburgh Sports Desk and the Gridiron Weekly show, which was on yesterday after a little bit of a hiatus. So everybody's back in action, and we're excited to be able to do another show for you. And we've got a jam-packed program for you here over the next few hours, close to 5 hours of coverage today. Excited to be able to bring it all to you, and we're just going to just knock this out today. It is Steelers and Houston Texans, and look, we've been through this quite a bit as as fans, and as somebody who has covered this team off and on over the last few decades. It's a tall task today. Anytime you get into the postseason, unless you're a number one seed and you've got it like that, as we are starting to already get live chat in our YouTube. Hope your team wins tonight from Star Wars 9918. Thank you very much. Derpy checking in already. Good to see you, Derpy. Thanks for joining us this afternoon. We've got look, we're just going to get straight into it. I will give you the guest lineup. Excited about the guests that we have in store for you today. We'll talk more about that in a moment. But here it is for Mike Tomlin once again. An opportunity to silence the critics, right? They won the division on the last play of the game last week, right? It was either, win and continue or lose and go home. And a rookie kicker missed a 44-yard field goal in arguably the hardest stadium in the NFL to make kicks of that nature in. That's why the Steelers got into the playoffs. They got in, Aaron Rodgers played a great game. Kenny Gainwell, great game. They dialed it up when they needed to in the fourth quarter, and they were just good enough to beat their bitter rivals, who, of course, fired their head coach. A couple days later, they fired their head coach. So here it is for Mike Tomlin, and this is where, and we'll talk about this over the next 4+ hours, this is where Mike Tomlin excels. Scenarios like this, right? They won last week because a rookie kicker missed a 44-yard field goal on the closed side of the stadium, closed end zone side of the stadium. And just moments earlier, it was Chris Boswell missing an extra point that gave Baltimore an opportunity to win the game. So we'll get into this a little further, but I'll bring in Bill here, and we'll get with your initial thoughts, your thoughts on last week and where we stand right now, 5 hours or so away from kick.
Well, I tell you what, the biggest thing I thought about that last drive by Baltimore that ended in that, I said it before, it kind of reminded you of the 2005 divisional round when Vanderjagt missed that kick, right, in the, in Indy. But, they still had a timeout. I thought they could have gotten a little bit closer. I thought they could have ran another play and got, 8-10 yards out of the hole, made it a closer kick. I mean, that's just me. But he decided to run it down and run it down to 2 seconds and kick a 44-yarder, and he missed it wide right. But it just got, like I said, I had deja vu going back to that 2005 divisional round when Vanderjagt missed it. I was like, oh God, where have I seen this before?
Yeah.
But, a win's a win, right?
Right. Well, it was the last game of the year, and the winner was going to go on, and the loser was going to have a whole lot of questions to answer. And look, here we are with Mike Tomlin once again. He's lost how many playoff games now in a row? 6, right? Hasn't won one since 2016. That one was a 6 field goal effort, right, in Kansas City. They didn't even score a touchdown, but they managed to win that game. So, right, I talked about this early in the week on Pittsburgh Sports Tonight. The first 15 minutes are going to determine an awful lot.
Yeah.
It's going to determine an awful lot.
And I agree with Derpy here. He's chiming in. He says the Steelers have no more excuses this year. Yes, they're pretty much fully healthy. Not to mention we have a QB that knows what they're doing. Steelers cannot waste this opportunity. I agree. You know, the last time what we had, 2023 we had Mason Rudolph going against Josh Allen. Last year we had Russell Wilson going against Lamar Jackson. This year we have Aaron Rodgers going against C.J. Stroud. You know, the first time we've had a home playoff game since 2021. We all know that debacle. What happened in that game? I just think it's a different. I don't know. I have a really good feeling about this game. I told you that earlier before we went on the air. I just feel like the stars are really aligning for them to have a good game tonight. But yeah, I mean, getting back to that Ravens game, I mean, hey, you know, like I said, a win's a win. You can say what you want to say. You can say, well, if he makes that, you know, they don't go on to, you know, to to the playoff game. I like Mike Tomlin's comment that he made was, well, if my aunt had male parts, she'd be my uncle.
Yeah, that was in Tuesday's Tomlin presser on Tuesday. I think it was Tuesday. He's listen. If not anything, he is he's chock full of fun sometimes with his comments. Okay, he's chock full of fun sometimes. But now the business at hand is to continue to win and move on. And this is something they haven't done in 9 years now. And look, I'm not going to sit here and paint a pretty picture, but I've said all week, and I said this Monday, right? I even said this probably after the game on Sunday or before the game. I said if they win this game, they're going to be an underdog, and it's going to be a good spot for Tomlin and this team to be in yet again. They snuck by the hairs of their chinny chin chin on Monday against Baltimore, right? I said before the game, I'm not sure what's going on with Boz, but I don't like it. Sure enough, in a very critical spot, he misses a kick that could have potentially sealed their fate, right? A rookie kicker gaffes one, right? He just pushed it. Boom. They get the win, and immediately a 3-point underdog. Line went to 3.5 the next day, but it has settled back down at 3. We'll see if any late money comes in via the West Coast or any sharp money. But good spot for Tomlin to be in. This is where he rallies his team, but it's the first 15 minutes that are going to play a big part in whether or not they have a chance at winning this game. All right, let's talk a little bit about today's show, and we'll continue to kind of get into some points that I want to discuss this afternoon. Excited about today's program. Of course, all the usual suspects are going to be joining us like they always do. In the first hour, it'll be our Ricky Henderson leading off, Mike Ostie, managing editor of West Virginia Sports Now, part of the Pittsburgh Sports Now family of websites, national writer for Yardbarker, and of course heard on Sirius XM. Mike will be joining us here at 3:15 p.m. For his usual hangout with us. At 3:45 p.m., we're going to be joined by Rob Mish, author of Sports Betting for Winners. It's our Consigs Picks segment. He's live from Las Vegas. We'll have Rob on at 3:45 Eastern to talk about betting strategies. We'll talk a little bit about today's game, any props that he might like, things of that nature. In the 4 o'clock hour, it's of course Paul Zeiss, columnist for the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette, at least until May 3rd. Well, hopefully that somebody can come in and keep that paper moving on. Coach's Corner with Todd Haley, the former offensive coordinator of the Pittsburgh Steelers, former head coach of the Kansas City Chiefs, coordinator with the Browns, and of course Arizona Cardinals. He'll be joining us for Coach's Corner with Paul, and we'll wrap up the second hour with those two. And then at 5 o'clock, I'm excited to say, I try to book guests. This show is a guest-driven show. I wanted it to be a guest-driven show. I didn't think that 4 hours of me would be all that exciting, and so we try to bring on as many guests as we can. I'm pleased to say that a Pittsburgh native who is a massive YouTuber, sports guy, Steelers guy, all Pittsburgh sports guy, Urinating Tree, almost 700,000 subs on YouTube, about 135,000 on X. He's got a unique story. I'm excited to be able to say that he agreed to come on. He's actually looking forward to it. We're pumped to have him on. I had a chance to watch a few of his streams in like his at the end of a game and then on like post game. It's fascinating. He's got a like I said, a really interesting story, and he's agreed to join us at 5:00. He'll be streaming later on today with thousands of people. We're just happy to have him on. Urinating Tree, or Tree as he likes to be known as, will join us at 5:00. At 5:15, it's Jerry DePaula and John Fedko. That'll be fun. Tree was actually, he was like, he goes, I can't believe you got John Fedko on this show. I'm like, well, yes, I worked with him. So it was nice to see that this guy who has this huge YouTube follower was kind of checking us out a little bit and seeing what we're about, which is cool. And so Jerry and John join us at 5:15 p.m. They'll join us for the remainder of the hour like they always do. At 6:00, our NFL insider, Zig Fracassi of Sirius XM's NFL Radio, will hop on board at 6:15. Anthony Halkias, the lead Steelers writer for SteelerNation.com, comes on board for his weekly hit. And then at 6:30, it'll be just a bunch of odds and ends. We'll have Bill's breakdown. Bill will give us his insight into what he thinks will happen in tonight's Monday night game, and then we'll bring you some sound through the course of the week. We've got some sound that we found online, a bunch of snippets from players, coaches, GMs from both sides on the Texans and Steelers. We'll kind of get some insight, peel off what we can from each of those, and that'll take us into the 7:00 hour when we wrap things up with Bill and myself. We'll give you some final thoughts and get you out the door early today. 4+ hours of live Steelers coverage here from North Park Lounge, Richland Hilltop Event Center. We're excited to bring you a monster show. In just a few minutes, we'll have Mike Ostie. Again, I talked about the first 15 minutes being critical, obviously. Can the Steelers find a way to score enough against this Texans defense? Derpy says, I don't think we have to get a fast start. I think we do have to keep it like last week's game, first half close, because the entire playoffs have come down to teams with the ball last mostly. Look, it came down to, I'm trying to think which game really came down. Well, I mean, the Eagles game mostly came down to the wire in that last possession. Same thing with Jacksonville. They had the ball to try to score, and they got, there was an interception that ended that one.
Tip ball interception.
Yeah, tip ball interception. The Packers game obviously was fairly close as well. The first 3-4 games were fairly close. Last night's late game was more of a slugfest between two teams that were just, I know that Justin Herbert takes a beating. He took a beating again last night and today on social media. And look, you're in the glamour position when you're a quarterback, right? And he has not produced really anything for them, but he's got to have some players around him. I don't know offensively if he does. It was really putrid effort last night. It's crazy how you play a team, and certainly the Steelers, maybe their worst effort of the year was that Chargers game on that Sunday night effort when they went out there and just got manhandled by them. But the Chargers put up a fight for about a half, but offensively they were just terrible. And so, they lose 16-3, and that was definitely a little bit of a surprise. I thought it'd be a little bit closer. I think I will talk more about some of the keys to Steelers victory as we bring Mike Ostie in here. As I mentioned, Mike, of course, has been writing for Pittsburgh Sports Now, is the managing editor of West Virginia Sports Now, West Virginia alum. Of course, Howitzer Buzzsaw podcast doing NHL stuff. I mean, the resume continues to build, young man. What don't you do at this point in time?
Yeah, that's very, very true. I'm now co-hosting the Locked On NHL Game Night shows. So talking a lot of Penguins and Sidney Crosby and what he's been doing on those shows as well. But yeah, still doing Yardbarker, still doing my show on that gets put on Sirius. So I'm a busy man, but my two young girls keep me the busiest. So I'm still promoting being a girl dad above all else, for sure.
Yeah, wait till they get to be 13 and 12 like mine. It'll just,
That'll be enough stress. I will then whittle down the career things on the resume. At that point,
I'd say you'd be pulling your hair out, but you keep it really short as it is.
That's very, very true. I'm already prepared. I'm
Fair enough.
I'm not in any way sure how I'll handle that stress, but we'll get there when we get there.
So let's talk about right, absolutely. Nobody can handle the stress. Well, most people, it's hard for sure. Let's talk about the week. A quiet week. It wasn't like sometimes leading up to a playoff game, there's some sort of buzz, some sort of story, something that, obviously DK Metcalf coming back, but I thought it was a quiet week news-wise around the Steelers. What say you, Mike Osti?
Yeah, I mean, I don't disagree. There was still the normal amount of content, but no one's coverage, went wild. Nobody was debating. It wasn't as much debate, conversation on social media or even on the talk shows about anything any of us were saying, or even any national media really wasn't focused as much on the Steelers as they've been all year or usually are, because they had other playoff games to worry about. Maybe part of that is this is Monday Night Football. This is the final playoff game of the wild card round. Everything else has really been decided. So everything else was pushed to the forefront, and this was to the back burner because now today this gets all the buzz and all the attention. Maybe that's the case, but even this morning on the national shows, it was all about the weekend. It wasn't as much about what's in front with tonight's game. I don't think the Steelers, as they are a franchise, John, I'm sure you knew this too, but the Rooney family on down, they don't really love all the attention they get nationally. The Rooney family has made it very clear they never want to be on Hard Knocks. They've turned that down repeatedly over the years. So they probably prefer this. And I'm sure that if they win and there's some question to Mike Tomlin of, did you feel any slight that there was no conversation after the win, and that, people just kind of nationally thought that was it and your season will be over after that. And, he'll probably think like, oh, we loved being the underdog or proving people wrong, or we don't want the chatter. We just want to, get to work and put our hard hat on. I'm giving him lines, but I'm sure he'll use some of them. That kind of has been the case, though. This has not been, it's also not a rivalry game. You could argue, John, that there was more hype going into the Sunday Night Football game to close out the regular season, which was really the AFC North championship game against the Ravens, because that's a rival. That was the last game with Harbaugh there as their head coach, than this one. I mean, this is just a regular playoff game. It's the first home playoff game in Pittsburgh in a while. I will say I did cover my first playoff game that I covered in person in the NFL was the Steelers' home playoff loss to Jacksonville in January of 2017. They've been on the road a bunch since when they would get in. I'm not going to be there tonight in attendance, but covering from home. But I did soak that one up and was bad luck then. So we'll see if me not being there is better luck for the Steelers tonight. But yeah, I kind of agree. Not too much commentary, just the same old. DK's back. Aaron Rodgers is playing okay. Is this team good enough? The Texans are the favorite. Their defense could be a problem. Can the Steelers do enough on the ground? All these things I'm sure you're going to ask all of us about in the next 2 hours.
Yeah, no. I would say, I know we say a lot of things over a 4 or 5 hour period of time. Aaron Rodgers' play last week, especially in the second half, was the difference as far as I'm concerned. I mean, Kenny Gainwell aside, I think, he chucked the ball 47 times. That's a season high for him. 47. Yeah. He pitched it 47 times. So, at 42 years old, if you're relying on your 42-year-old quarterback to throw the ball 42 times, that's a lot. That's a big lift. And I think, Mike, I think it's going to have to be the same way this week. Now, the difference is much better defense, right? Statistically, the best one in the NFL. Yeah. Right? Their pass rush is really dominant. Their corners are really strong. We do get DK Metcalf back, so they're going to have to deal with that, and that's going to require some extra help, which might free up a Calvin Austin. It might free up an Adam Thielen. It might free up a Marquez Valdez-Scantling, who were all very big last week, right? Yeah. I'm sorry. Pat Freiermuth, your top 10 paid wide receiver who caught a long ball down the seam, right? Yeah. The Steelers throw the ball between the hash marks, right? I mean, what are we talking about here? Yeah. I think
Yeah.
And again, I thought last week it would be, I said he's going to have to throw the ball probably 35 times. I think this week, probably the same thing, Mike. Can the Steelers, let me just ask you this, can they run for 90 yards today?
Yeah. It's going to be far, far more difficult. The Texans team and their defense is built to destroy a team like the Steelers. Like the way they built their team is to look, a 40-plus-year-old aging quarterback, a team that can barely run the ball on a regular basis, a team with one receiver and a bunch of role players, a team dealing with drama, and a team that, really isn't that good in general, but yet won a weaker division in all reality. Wow, we should feast. That is exactly how they're built. That's their mentality. That might even be what they're saying. That's why I've been saying for weeks the Texans would be the worst matchup for Pittsburgh. That if they would have played the Chargers, we already saw them lose to New England. I think they would have been very vulnerable. Maybe even Buffalo. But to play the Texans with the way their team is built, with that defense especially, that also, like the Steelers, who try to live off defensive turnovers whenever they win, their defense gets picks, and the defense isn't ever great. They allow yards, but sometimes gets turnovers and points that way. So do the Texans. The Texans flip the field all the time. They're going to try to do it here in this one. So conventional wisdom would say the recipe is there for Houston, and it probably won't be a great day for the Steelers, but we have seen the Steelers offense play better in recent weeks. We have seen them do what you're saying against Baltimore, even though that's a much worse defense, and they are this year. Casual fans may not believe it, but the Ravens defense hasn't been great for years. But having DK Metcalf back should open up more from the passing game. It should make it easier on Calvin Austin, who was able to get through the seam without DK there. It should be even easier on him now. And maybe somebody else as well, maybe going to the tight ends even more and having an easier day for them. I think Aaron Rodgers, John, is going to try. If they lose and he throws 35 balls, he tries to air it out for a few deep passes, and either he overthrows them or they don't hit because it's on him. I bet you he'll sleep more soundly later on tonight or into the morning whenever the game's over, even if that's the last game of his career, than if they throw it 15, 20 times. He doesn't try to air it out. They lose, and they lose 16-13. He's probably going to go home and say, man, I didn't get to be Aaron Rodgers one last time. Like, I think he's going to want to try to do it one more time. And we don't know for sure whether he's coming back or not. I wouldn't be shocked if he does. The Steelers may know. I know he's having fun there, and it's a possibility. But, yeah, the recipe probably is to at least try to air it out, try to threaten it at least. It'll help the running game too. And people may also look at DK Metcalf's numbers to say what he does in this game. That's not fair to him. His impact can be only 3 catches, 40 yards, but everybody else has much more room to grow and all the space for everybody else. That's the difference of him not being there, is everyone else's opportunity beyond just his own.
We're joined by Mike Ostie, managing editor of West Virginia Sports Now, part of the Pittsburgh Sports Now family of websites, of course, national writer for Yardbarker, heard on Sirius XM, talking about the Steelers and the Houston Texans. I do think, Mike, I do think he's going to want to air it out. I think he wants to be the gunslinger, right? I think this is the okay corral for him.
It could be a poor plan. I mean, it could go awry. It could certainly go awry.
Right. Well, against this defense, agreed, right? This defense isn't going to change, right? They're getting what they're getting in this top-ranked team, defensively speaking. So he's and I asked you, can they run the ball for 90 yards? I need 90 yards out of my running game. Right.
You do. You do need that.
Right. You need 90 at least to have some sort of puncher's chance. Right. You got to keep him honest. If not, he is going to chuck the ball up 45 times. That's assuming they can drive the ball against this defense. That's a real question.
And
right?
you got to control the clock enough to make it easier on your defense. The defense can't be out there every minute and a half. I would also just guess here that if Rodgers throws 30 some times, the Steelers can put it on the board. They can win. I would imagine if he throws 45 plus times, they're not going to win. A lot of it is they're down early in the game. They're trying to play catch up. He's trying to force balls. They're trying to go deep too often. When the Steelers offense was at its best early in the season for a few games in a row, before Rodgers went through his kind of downturn early in the year, they were trying a deep pass almost per quarter. It doesn't mean they would have 5 or 6 attempts per game, but they would have 4. They would have 3 to 4. And that would kind of be the ceiling. They wouldn't do 5, 6, 7, 8, or 9 like some teams. They would give you 3 to 4 and usually would hit one of those at least. And that would really provide them some momentum, either a lead or they would come back. They would be able to put more points on the board. If you really can get your brain to remember that Jets game early in the season when the defense almost lost it for them, but they were able to score. It seems like it was 7 years ago. But that recipe and that plan could maybe be put forth again here to the last game of potentially the season, or a game that lends you to actually win a playoff game and advance and move on, which I think is finally on the board more than in recent years. If we were talking on this show, that didn't exist at the time, but in any of the past years when they would get in, nobody thought there was any chance against Buffalo, against Kansas City, whoever. No chance. The quarterback wasn't good enough. They had a way worse quarterback. The team wasn't good enough. They're going to get blown out, and they did. They, at least for one day and one night, they have a situation QB-wise and team-wise. They can do it.
Yeah, they can. Absolutely. And I look back at that Jets game, and Art Smith was dialed in.
Yeah, that was the game of the year for the offense.
It really was. Right. No, it absolutely was. I mean, and now look, again, it was the Jets, and I'm not going to sit here and paint this out to be this Texans team, but they still executed extremely well. Rodgers looked great. They ran the ball effectively. The defense was just, in a bad spot. They, of course, get Derek Harmon 2 weeks later in the game against the Patriots. You see the drastic improvement that he helped with this team in terms of stopping the run, because they certainly didn't do it in the first 2 games. So that was a big bonus as well. Let's get into CJ Stroud. Let's talk about their offense. They're not a ground and pound type of team. This team, I think, is predicated on forcing turnovers in plus territory, setting up the short drives, CJ Stroud being effective. How do we neutralize Stroud today? Can we neutralize Stroud today?
I think it can happen. I mean, CJ Stroud is still, not to say he's inexperienced or a rookie. He certainly is not. He's been through this before. He's been in this type of game before, but he's not nearly as experienced as Aaron Rodgers. He's still a young quarterback. He's only 24 years old. So this is still a player that has not had a deep postseason run yet. He's still somebody that you certainly can get to, maybe get into his mind, maybe have this be a situation where maybe he would try to do too much. I mean, he's been in the playoffs a couple times, but this is not a quarterback that I can say is a full-on veteran of the game yet. He's only a few years into his career. So maybe you catch him having one of those games where he tries to do too much. We've even seen this year where he's good enough with this team. But, John, they're winning because their defense is the best in football. You could argue CJ Stroud is still a bit regressed from where he was a couple years ago or when he first entered the league. He hit the ground running and entered the league better than really anybody stat-wise had entered the league as a rookie quarterback. And it's been a little bit of a dip since then. He still can do it with his legs, still can do it with his arm. Sometimes wins a game with 150 passing yards. We've seen that this year. So they can do that. And usually they get defensive scores, but they can do that. I would think on the flip of Aaron Rodgers, and we're saying you got to have 30 pass attempts probably, maybe his last game, you got to air it out, you just got to threaten, etc. For the Texans, their best recipe is probably 25 pass attempts, maybe a little on the ground, that's enough, and then their defense just strangle you. That's probably what they want. They don't want 35, 40 pass attempts from Stroud. That probably means they are behind, and a lot of that probably is then in garbage time. 20-25 is probably what you want, and most of his games, especially recently, have been bearing that out.
Yeah, I'm actually trying to pull up, as you were talking there, I was trying to pull up his last few games here and just looking at some of the numbers he's actually thrown up in terms of attempts. You're right. The Colts game really wasn't it was a game that they ended up winning. He threw 23 times before that. The Chargers game, 28, 35 against Las Vegas, 29 against Arizona, 31 against Kansas City. You're right. They want to keep him in that 25 range, 30 range max. That means they're doing fairly well. He's not causing too many problems in terms of interceptions. And that looks good for them. They don't run the ball extremely well. That much we know for a fact.
Yeah.
They don't, again, as you mentioned, that defense is predicated on forcing turnovers. They were third in the league this year. I think it was 29 turnovers forced. So that certainly, helps them. Nico Collins is the big threat for them offensively, the wide receiver with 1,100 yards catching this year. You mentioned Aaron Rodgers, possibly last hurrah. Is this the last hurrah?
Yeah, I mean, if I was going to guess, I think he's leaning, wanting to come back. I'll say that. I think he's leaning that way. I do think there's a chance what happens tonight does impact the decision. I certainly think if they win and they're embarking on another playoff game, as we've talked about in past weeks, that he loves Mike Tomlin. Say what you want about him. Aaron Rodgers is bought in and loves Mike Tomlin. They're going to be lifelong friends. They have a personal relationship in this short amount of time. They are boys. So he wants to do this for Mike Tomlin as much as himself. If for some reason, because the reports are flying, that even with the win over the Baltimore, that Mike Tomlin may want to go to TV, or they may part ways just in general with the Steelers because they want something new. Finally, when the Steelers have never wanted that before, they wouldn't fire him, but Tomlin maybe would want that. If Tomlin's not the head coach next year for whatever reason, Aaron Rodgers is not back and he's retiring. He's not going to do a whole nother coach, a whole nother song and dance, learn another offense. It could be a totally different type of style. I don't think he's going to want to do all that, especially if it's a younger coach. He didn't really enjoy that when he just had that with Green Bay. He kind of likes the older veteran, old school style coaches that Tomlin, even Mike McCarthy was. So if not Tomlin, he's gone. If Tomlin's back, though, and I still would lean that Tomlin is back, by the way, despite reports, then I think there's a chance of Rodgers. But if they win playoff games, they win one playoff game, then he'll shut up the critics of Tomlin a little bit, because then Tomlin will break his playoff winless drought. And if you're winning playoff games, you're certainly not going to then fire a coach. That'll totally quiet the noise that's been going on this year that's louder than ever. And you have to remember, this does not get discussed anywhere near him as much in Pittsburgh, and it didn't in Green Bay either, John. But Aaron Rodgers hasn't won a playoff game in a while. Aaron Rodgers hasn't been good in the playoffs in a while. Aaron Rodgers people say Mike Tomlin's one ring doesn't count because it's 15 years ago. Aaron Rodgers' ring is from 15 years ago over the Steelers, and Tomlin's been to 2. Aaron Rodgers has only been to 1. Aaron Rodgers didn't even go far in any of the years with Green Bay after that championship. And many of those years, they were the favorite going in and would lose in early rounds to teams that they should have beat. So if Rodgers plays poorly, and Tomlin coaches poorly, it's all that again. If Tomlin wins and Rodgers plays well and they win, then I also think Aaron Rodgers would sit back and say, I quieted the doubters. I proved my point to the Jets and everybody else. I'm going to the Hall of Fame. Then I'm done. If they lose, it's maybe on the board because depending on what goes on with the drafted players, and I don't think it's that deep of a class. Maybe the Steelers go to him and say, 1 more year, not 2, 1 more year. Mentor this guy we're going to draft. We don't think he's ready yet. Whatever. We don't even love the quarterbacks in this draft yet. I think that's all on the board. I think they have talked so far. Maybe they already know. And maybe I don't think we're getting an announcement after this game, though. I don't think if they lose that Rodgers is going to say in the post-game presser, I'm definitely done. But as I've also said to you, I do think whatever decision is made, it's not going to be an entire offseason into June before we'll know. Yeah, it got to be earlier. And I do think the Steelers will tell him, we need to know soon, and you cannot do a Brett Favre thing that you tell us one thing, we go in the draft, and then all of a sudden in June you want to play. They're not going to put up with that either, despite the Steelers and Rodgers have had a great time for a year. They certainly get along. But it'll be quicker. If they lose this game, we may know in a week. We may know in a day. We may know in 2 days. I don't think he's going to give us the opportunity at that question being answered in the post-game press conference at 2 a.m. I would imagine that they're gonna calm it down for 1 day at least, but we'll know soon.
I would think they give him 30 days.
Yeah, I think that's. I mean, I think you got to give a month. Yeah, to be fair.
I want to know in a month. Hey, you got a month. No, because once the season, let's just say they lose tonight, right? Everything clears out 24, 48 hours. Nobody's thinking like. He's probably not thinking, do I want to come back right away, right? He's just processing whatever.
Or he shouldn't be.
No, he shouldn't be.
That's an emotional decision if you think about it then.
Yeah, right. It is. And I think the Steelers, to be fair, say, look, we'll give you 4 weeks. We want to know before the draft. We want to know well before the draft.
Yeah.
So that we can, start to figure out what we're going to do, because we can't wait till June. I agree with you completely. And I think he's probably 70% already decided on what he wants to do. Bill Aiken, go ahead.
So. Yeah.
I think they want him back, because when you look at it, I mean, the draft for quarterbacks is and where they're going to be picking, you got to be a little bit concerned about that.
Yeah, I mean, I do think there's a chance this year, from even what I've been hearing from not just colleagues, but even some sources, there's more of a chance this year than ever before they would potentially consider trading up for a quarterback regardless of the playoff finish. I think there's more of a chance they may go, even especially if Rodgers says I'm done, even if they're in the championship game. They may say to themselves, well, that was great one year, but now the future, and they may trade a couple picks to go up. Would they trade the draft? Would they do a Ricky Williams thing? No. They're never going to do that. But I wouldn't be shocked if they do trade some picks, try to get up there a little bit. Kind of what happened with Devin Bush years ago, that obviously that didn't work out as a linebacker. But yeah, I think they mostly know. I think they've talked. I think the Steelers definitely do probably want him back at least for a year. If they had a top 5 pick and could get Mendoza, then they probably would say, do what you want. If you want to come back, great. If not, we don't care. But outside of a trade, they're not going to get up there. I mean, they lose tonight, they're still in a middle of the pack draft slot. They keep winning, it's going to get worse actually in the draft. So and it's in Pittsburgh. And I also think that obviously, because people are probably saying to themselves listening, it's not going to disrupt their plans in per se. They need a quarterback anyway. They're probably going to look at a quarterback anyway. They're going to go to these senior days and the Shrine Bowl, etc., looking at quarterbacks anyway. Maybe they'll trade up for a quarterback even with Rodgers back, because it's only 1 year. Who knows? But they still need to know all this earlier. They're not going to let this go. He can't go beyond rookie minicamp and all of that. Like, that's just not going to happen again. I don't think he would do it again. But if I had to bet right now, gun to my head, I actually think there might be one more year Rodgers in Pittsburgh.
I think so. I don't think Tomlin's going anywhere. That whole TV thing. I just don't see that happening.
Do you think he'd be good on TV, guys? John, especially, because you've
no.
I
mean, look. You look.
Some think he'd be good. Some think he won't be good.
I didn't think Cowell was going to be particularly great.
Right.
Okay.
A lot of people.
I mean, just to be honest, I think
a lot of people thought
okay.
A lot of people.
Yeah, what's not to love? You know what I mean?
It's a great gig, 100%.
It's
one day a week for like 2 hours.
Right.
Couple hours.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
A lot of people
more than that, but yeah. But no, well, of course not. Yeah, he absolutely loves it, and good for him. And who knows? I mean, there'll obviously be people that would work with him. By the way, portions of today's show brought to us by Arch Masonry and Restoration. Arch Masonry and Restoration is hiring in Pittsburgh. They are looking for professional craftsmen with experience in brick and block laying work, concrete, labor help. No experience, no problem. They have on-the-job training. You can advance through programs and classes that get your career started in the building trades. Call 412-564-5733 or visit archmasonryinc.com to learn more. One more question with one or two more questions with Mike Ostie here real quick. Mike, I got to get your take on this whole thing that's blown up because of the Jacksonville game yesterday. A woman from a newspaper, Lynn Jones, from the Jacksonville Free Press, had this inspiring message for Liam Cohen after their loss. Everybody's up in arms. Journalism is dead. Pat McAfee came out today and was just like, he was firing howitzers at everybody. I saw that you made a comment about it. I just want to get, a little bit. Look, to me, what this says is, here's a woman who probably doesn't cover the team on a regular basis, happens to get credentialed to go to this playoff game, and is not used to being in a sports locker room. I may be wrong, and is just provides some sort of condolences to a head football coach in what I thought was a touching manner in some way. But again, people are talking about journalistic credibility. I wanted to hear your thoughts on all of this.
Yeah, happy to give them, and they're all over on my social media, on my X account for sure. To this point, I've been talking with people all day, and actually, I would love to hear Jerry DiPaolo and Fetko's thoughts on this, because I'm in my 30s. They obviously have been around and have seen the transition of media. And you are hitting the nail on the head, though. I will admit my initial comments and some of the initial comments, I didn't fully dive into that. And then once you realize who said it, her resume, what she's been doing, she's been there for 20 years. She's not a traditional Jaguars beat reporter. She mostly covers news.
Ding.
She also works for an outlet that is the equivalent of, say, the Pittsburgh City paper. She was more of she was with like a newspaper that was more on like a, I don't want to say a political slant, but a very like liberal news paper is where she's coming from. So she might have been there because, as you could imagine, the Jaguars in a playoff game in Jacksonville is everything everyone would talk about there.
Right.
All hands on deck. Doesn't matter what you're covering or your resume, you're there. They might have rolled 16 people deep because they're local media. So that's why she's there. However, I don't necessarily like it either. I get having a relationship with a coach, with players. I've had relationships with coaches and players, friendships, personal relationships with coaches and players over the years. It was a coach that got fired that I covered that, when he got fired, we went viral a couple times, and Neil Brown at WVU. We had a personal conversation. I made sure to get his personal info to talk personally because I felt like we built a personal relationship. There are people that are now my sources that are built off of being personal relationships of mine over the years that I might not even be covering today. So all of that is fine. Humanity is great. However, I wouldn't bring what I would say to them in a private conversation to provide humanity and say, hey, Neil, I'm sorry about the situation didn't work out for you. You're a good guy. Hope you success. I'm not going to do that in the middle of the presser that other media members are trying to get their questions fired off. You got a limited space. It's usually 15, 20 minutes max. And it's like Tomlin, he likes to shut it down earlier. There are some coaches that that they don't even give you any type of room to get in there. And if you give like a breather that you don't have a question, they're about to walk off. So I don't know what Liam Cohen is exactly like, but it's not all day. And it's not the right setting to do that. You can provide the humanity and be nice. Everyone's a human, but it's not the right setting. And in addition to providing the comfort, which was inappropriate, she also said the Duval, like that catchphrase for the team. That's a team catchphrase that no media member should be saying publicly. Like that is a fan comment. She acted like a fan / friend of his, and maybe they're personally friends, who knows? But even if that's the case, you don't say it during the presser. So I don't think the setting's right. And I think part of the issue here is, I believe Trey Wingo brought this up, but some others have brought this up. Part of the issue is a lot of the public do not understand the job of an actual journalist because it's been so convoluted these days with content creators. I'm not against it. Shows like this, a lot of what my career has been on, I'm a digital journalist, really. Digital Spaces,
right.
Locked On, I'm doing a game night show, but a lot of their fan shows are just purely fans that aren't credentialed. It's all we've been together. I mean, my career is not just a traditional Jerry DiPaolo route. I've done a lot of digital things too. It's different than when he got going. However, someone who's purely a content creator that's not credentialed, that person's not a journalist. It doesn't mean I'm insulting you. That's just a fact. Like if someone's a nurse, they're not a brain surgeon. Like it's just you can't lie and say you are because maybe you'll want to be. And you just got to respect the environment and the scenario. But people don't really understand the roles. They don't like the roles. Pat McAfee, I love him. I went to college with him. His show's wonderful. I watch it. What he's doing is fantastic. I don't think he ever in his literal life has ever been in a press conference having to ask a question to anybody within a 2-second period ever. He does not know what goes on during those. So it's just not the right time. I'm not saying don't be human. Don't ever say it maybe, but it's not the right time. I think part of the outrage is people do not really get the difference of a journalist versus a content creator versus a fan. If she wants to go on her show, if she wants to have a fan, even if she's not who she is, but if you want to have a fan blog and go on your podcast after that game and say all that about Liam Cohen, legit, go ahead and do it. Make money doing it. I'm not going to stop you, but not during the press conference. Like that, not during the press conference. You're credentialed there, and the first thing that is said to you over the loudspeaker in that press box is act like a professional. Don't cheer. Don't root. Don't do any of these things, or you could get kicked out. And I don't know about. I don't know about you, John. I've seen people get kicked
boxes.
out.
Come on. What do you?
No,
I mean, do you know there's rooting that goes on in press boxes all the time? It's laughable.
No. There is no. I was about to say. I know there is, and I've seen people get kicked out for doing it. I've seen people get kicked out on both sides, and otherwise. But no, it definitely goes on. But I think that it doesn't mean you go to the level of saying it in the press conference. So I don't love the timing. I do not love the timing, but I get it, and I don't think people get the dynamic of why there's outrage.
All right, quick before we wrap up with you, go ahead, Bill.
I take a little bit of even more of an abrasive approach to it. I thought it was cringeworthy. I totally agree with you. There's a time and a place for that. That is not the time at all.
Yeah, she doesn't cover sports on a regular basis.
Then why is she asking questions?
Well, talk to her editors or these people.
That's literally what Paul Zeiss came back to. Why is she asking? No, even if she has to be there in a working environment, you know how those pressers go. You get like 5 to 7 people to get a question. Right. How is she one of them? How is she one of them?
She was.
I write for the Riverhounds, and I know there's you got to get a question in that's relevant. You can't be a fanboy. You have to be subjective. You have to, you know what I mean. You just can't.
You at least can't go Duvall. No, you can't do Duval.
No, it was terrible. It takes me back to when Todd Bowles was asked a question by that reporter. Well, you know it's going to be 26 degrees in Detroit. How are you going to prepare for this? You do realize we're playing in a dome, right? You know, you guys remember
that. You can ask stupid questions. Legit, you can ask stupid questions. Right. But that was an inappropriate question for somebody that's credentialed. If she wants to be a fan, great. But that's not the time to do that, even though she was put there. I think, and she, you know, the outlet that she works for, it's not like, say, she's not a beat reporter, but it's not like she's just a fangirl running the blog. She has a credentialed job for 20 years with a press pass to Jacksonville sports. She should know the lay of the land a little bit, even if she's not doing it every day of the week.
Absolutely.
All right, we're gonna leave her alone now. Mike, I appreciate you joining me as you do every single week. I got Rob Mish. I got Mike Ostie, managing editor of West Virginia Sports Now, part of the Pittsburgh Sports Now family of websites, national writer for Yardbarker, heard on Sirius XM. You're the man, Mike. Thank you for joining me.
Yeah, absolutely. Maybe we'll do one more of these, but either way, I appreciate it all year, and we'll be in touch if there's more to come. If not, another game for the Steelers.
All right, sounds good, Mike.
Have a great
Thank you, sir. All right, we go from Mike Ostie. Yes, it is. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, absolutely. We're going to bring Rob Mish in here live from Las Vegas, author of a book called Sports Betting for Winners. What's that? Okay. Well, maybe we aren't going to be able to bring. Let's try to bring him in, and can we? We won't be able to do it. Let's see if we can get him in here. Yeah, he's not doing. Rob, are you there?
Yeah. Can you hear me?
I can. Thank you very much, sir, for joining us. He wrote a book called Sports Betting for Winners, lives in Las Vegas. I used to live in Las Vegas. I miss it dearly. Rob, how are you this afternoon?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me. I know the very moment you invited me, I thought of Pittsburgh and a great pal that you might know, that a lot of Pittsburghers would know, that a lot of sports betting people in the nation would know, Dave Sharapan. I think of Pittsburgh. I think of the great Dave Sharapan, and he passed away in September. I got to know him for about 5 years, and in that short amount of time, he became such a brother to me, and he became a brother and relatives to a lot of people. So when you requested me to come on, and when you said Pittsburgh, man, I just thought of Dave, and to anybody who knew him, man, you know that's the top of the tree.
So we call this segment Consigs Picks for that reason.
Beautiful.
I met Dave. I first came across him when I was living in Charleston, South Carolina, and I happened to be flipping on Sports Grid one day, and I see this guy wearing these wild outfits, and he always had something Pirates related on, and what I did was I reached out to a friend of mine who works at Westgate. And he works at the book out there, and I said, do you know this guy? And he's like, yeah. And so I started just kind of messaging him on the Sports Grid, like you could tweet or whatever.
Right.
And he started calling me South Carolina John, and next thing you know, we start chatting a little bit, and then my buddy had his number, and he kind of connected us, and we just kind of started to build a friendship there. And I met him. He came to Pittsburgh in 2024. I met him at the Rivers Casino Sportsbook. We hung out for a while, and then obviously with the way things turned for him, I was out there in August when he was not doing well, and I don't regret much in life. I regret not going to see him. I was out there for a quick reunion. I was literally in and out in like 36 hours, but
Yeah.
I wanted to make time and I didn't, and I regret that because Dave was. I was literally talking to him a week before he passed, and he was such a fantastic guy, and the sports betting community definitely lost somebody pretty good in Dave Sharapan. All right, Rob, you've been immersed in this world for many, many years. How did you find a love of sports betting and gambling, and of course go on to write a book about it? How did you get caught up in all of this?
Well, I've been a sports writer for almost 40 years since I got out of San Diego State in '87.
Okay.
So
with the Sun Times, you were at the Chicago Sun Times, I believe, at one time, right? You wrote for them.
Well, no, I am now.
Okay.
I came to Vegas in October '02 for a job, and that lasted about 10 years. I wound up finding about a 10-year window in my life where I wrote 4 books. One of them was the last one, Sports Betting for Winners. It came out in 2019. And then at that moment, I sent that book to the sports editor of the Chicago Sun-Times, someone I worked with at the San Diego section of the LA Times in 1985. I told Chris DeLuca that there's a chapter in the book that I could blow out into 3,000 words for you, basically solving the mystery of college football's greatest cold case. In the mid-50s, Bud Wilkinson took the Oklahoma Sooners to Northwestern. They went out early. Make a very long story short, they wound up taking their team to Chez Paris, the notorious restaurant in Chicago, where in the kitchen, Lem Banker told me he saw Lefty Rosenthal poison the 12 Jell-O shots that were going to the best 12 Oklahoma players. Half of them spent the weekend in hospital. Half of them could play at about a 50% operation. Northwestern ran over them. Nobody knew what happened. People always thought the mob was involved. And then for this book, I got Lem Banker, a fantastic ages-old sports bettor here in Vegas, just a famous guy. I got him at his last breath. He passed away soon after, but he fingered Lefty. I sent that book to Chris. Chris told me soon after he's always wanted a Vegas-based sports betting column. Do I know anybody? And I said, well, look no further. So since about 2020, I've been producing a weekly sports betting column, Vegas-based. I've lived here 23 years, and it's been going great, fantastic. And this past NFL season, they had me do all of their NFL cheat sheet stuff, which entails about three pages every Friday of the lines, of betting angles, of movements, of picks. And so this was my first year doing that. I had done that a few years ago for back-to-back seasons for the Sporting News. So I knew what they wanted. I knew the template. And so I've been just knee-deep in NFL.
What has changed? What's the biggest change in betting on sports that you've seen over the decades now? It's so much analytics, right? Like when I first met my first professional sports bettor, it was Dave Koken. Like I worked with him 30 plus years ago. And then when I moved back to Pittsburgh and I started doing evening talk radio, I met a guy who used to listen to my show, and I met him at a restaurant. He's like, I'm going to show you what I do. And he had a big notepad, and he had, here's my formula. And he started putting these, yards per attempt and this and these different things. And,
right.
how he correlates a number, right? This is what the book gives you, and this is what my number says. But it's completely changed now. It's so data driven, DVOA and a bunch of these other stats. What's the biggest thing that you've seen change wise in terms of how people approach betting on a game, and especially in the NFL?
Well, first of all, as you know, and everyone watching this knows, the NFL is the toughest nut to crack.
Yep.
That number is so razor sharp.
Yep.
Who in their right mind would think they could not only capitalize on it, but make a living at betting NFL? I know I stay away from it often. When I deal with the NFL, I do the 7-point teasers because I need everything available to me to cash that ticket. I'm not about making X profit over the season. I just want to take that ticket and get money for it. And the teaser is the way that helps me. This weekend, I did pretty well. I had a straight up money line bet on the Bears to win outright. That was a really good play. And then I have the Texans tonight, teased them from -3 to +4. That's the fifth leg of my teaser this weekend. And if the Texans can cover that at +4, then that ticket will come in. But I don't hit that unless I tease it. And the more I talk to professionals, the more that I find out that they tease also. They need all the help they can get to. And as far as what you call it, analytics, metrics, whatever BS name you want to call it, and whatever that changes in the next 10 years too, it's just math. It's just statistics. Right. I think what you got to do is it's key to be an originator. I know Bill Krakenberger is big on that word, and I am pretty much too. You got to find your way. You got to find what's good for you, what's natural for you. What I really prize is points per play margin at teamrankings.com. Go to that site. It's all free. The numbers in there are fantastic. I only look at a chosen few. Points per play margin tells me how you are running right now and how you've been running this season. And unfortunately for Pittsburgh, those numbers are against it tonight.
They're bad. I just kind of pulled the site up. I'll take a peek at it. But you're right. Yeah. Their numbers offensively are not very good, and they're statistically facing the best defensive unit in the National Football League. Before I let you go, Rob, just you obviously favor the Texans in this game. Just prop wise, do you play props? It seems like a lot of sharp bettors, and you talk about how razor sharp the lines are in the NFL. And I've had Crack on the show earlier this year. Crack's a great guy. These professional bettors, it seems like they're tackling the props more because they find more of a plus EV situation where they can get some expected line value or some closing line value out of something where there's an advantage by finding something that is plus EV.
You're absolutely right about that because as the books know, the teaser is more of a mechanism to help you make money, and every year that price on that teaser seems to just edge up a little bit more. Now, I'm not so worried about that price because, as I said, I want to just take that ticket and get money for it. But Bill Krakenberger, in fact, he just told me this a week ago. He gave me his insights on the Bears-Packers game, but he reinforced it by saying, remember, this is my view on the edge on this point spread, but tell everybody that I bet 4 times the amount of money on props that I do on point spreads. I think a good prop tonight. I think Rodgers is just going to be up against it. I've seen on DraftKings an even money prop that he'll throw at least 1 interception. I think that'll come to fruition.
Okay, excellent. Rob Mish, I appreciate you coming on board for our Consigs Pick segment, live from Las Vegas, Nevada. You can follow Rob on X as well. Rob, thank you so much. You've been very kind with your time today. Thank you, sir.
Anytime. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. He said, there you go. A prop to look at is over 0.5 interceptions on Aaron Rodgers. That's probably a pretty good one, I would think. This defense is just, they're going to get at it tonight. I know that a lot has been made of the fact that they have not won a road playoff game, right? They're 0-6 in their history, right? They have not played well on the road. They've played some pretty decent teams when they've traveled on the road, right? And they have won playoff games the past 2 years. I will give them that. Like the Texans have made the divisional the last 2 years. a good football team for sure. They won 12 games this year, and they're riding a 9-game winning streak coming into this contest. And by the way, welcome to Steel City Sunday if you're just joining us. I know a bunch of you in the chat have been throwing out a bunch of comments. We're going to get to them here in just a few moments. Thanks for sticking with us and telling people about us as we enter hour number 2 here live from the North Park Lounge, Richland, and the Hilltop Event Center. I'm John Phillips. That's Bill Akins. Bill, Aaron Rodgers tonight. What are you expecting out of him? Just out of curiosity.
Well, I don't know. I'm optimistic. It's going to be tough against this defense. I kind of agree with what Rob said. Listen, their defense is tough. It's a violent defense. It's a fast defense. It's a simple scheme, really. I mean, Matt Burke, he kind of bucked the modern trend of defenses. It's there's not a lot of complex disguise schemes. It's simple. It's just cover 1 and 3 and occasionally quarters, 4 down gap front, 1 gap front. And it has kind of the simplicity, I think, has made it easier for a lot of his players to understand their assignments and not have that, mental hesitation that they may have. But I mean, it's going to be tough against this. But I think, you know what, John, the way I see it is in recent weeks, he's been really getting rid of the ball faster.
Yes.
He was like at 2.5 seconds. I think he's right under he's right under 2 seconds right now. It was I think 1.9 or something like that last week. So I think that's going to play into his hand. I think it's a better quarterback matchup. I mean, you got a seasoned veteran versus C.J. Stroud. Granted, he has had a little bit of playoff experience, but I think I give Rodgers the nod on that when it comes to overall quarterback experience. I don't know. I think he's going to have a decent game. Listen, I have a good feeling. I have a feeling like they're going to win. I think he's going to be like Trent Dilfer. He's going to do enough to win. He's going to do enough to win the game, and hopefully, the biggest thing I see, make the most out of each offensive possession, like the old Wannstedt philosophy. End each possession on a kick, whether that's an extra point, whether that's a field goal or a punt to pin them deep. End each possession in a kick. That's what I'm looking at.
Patrick Hughes on YouTube says Aaron Rodgers has dominated regular season record against the Texans, 4 wins and a loss, 17 touchdowns with 1 pick. I'm pretty sure most of that, if not all of it, was when he was with the Green Bay Packers. By the way, we will have in our second hour Paul Zeiss, and we will also have Todd Haley. We're waiting for Paul to join us here in just a few moments. I do believe he is getting settled in downtown as he will be at the game in a few hours. Go ahead, Bill.
No, and further, getting Metcalf back is I think going to be a dynamic threat to the offense. Not to say that this Houston Texans team can't cover him, because I think they can. I mean, they've got some really good guys, obviously. Edge rushers, Danielle Hunter, Will Anderson. Those guys are just, are just great. But I tell you, another thing they've got a good secondary when you look at it. I mean, they really do. They have a good secondary. You've got guys like Stingley, Lassiter, Petrie. Those guys are, they have the ability to play their tight coverage, and they've done it especially against top receivers. So, it allows the pass rush more time to get to the quarterback when you're able to have a secondary that can play that tight coverage. So,
well, Derek Stingley and Miles Bryant are top level players for them, and that's not to take anything away from Jalen Petrie, who leads them in interceptions. Their secondary very, very good, right? They turn the ball over. They turn the ball over for sure. 555 Dino on YouTube saying we are due for a playoff win. It may not make sense, but football doesn't always make sense. Next week we go to the Patriots, who cheated to win a Super Bowl, and they won't last. Possibly possibly the case. Dino, thank you for your comment. We are excited to be able to talk to Paul Zeiss. We're going to bring him on here in just a second. This is Steel City Sunday, live from the North Park Lounge, Richland, and the Hilltop Event Center. Also brought to you in part by Arch Masonry and Restoration, hiring bricklayers, block layers, concrete finishers, and labor help. 412-564-5733, archmasonryinc.com. I am starting a brick mason with them on Wednesday, and I've got some concrete people that are going to hopefully get to work here soon. So if you're in the building trades here in the Pittsburgh area, or you know somebody that is not working right now, give Arch a call. 412-564-5733, archmasonryinc.com. Without further ado, live from his palatial digs somewhere on the north shore of Pittsburgh, it is columnist Paul Zeiss of the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette joining us here on our show for his weekly spot. How you doing, Paul?
I'm good. How are you doing, sir?
I'm doing good. I am good. I am, I don't want to say optimistic because I try to keep some sort of journalistic credibility, even though I am not working. Well, I guess I do technically work in the media. I do cover the Riverhounds for a newspaper. But I guess the thing I'm trying to say is I feel like there is some sort of air about this game that gives Mike Tomlin an advantage, because still nobody talking about them winning, everybody talking about the Texans moving on, right? The defense is too good, Aaron Rodgers is too old, the Steelers statistically offensively just don't look good. This is where Mike Tomlin excels. We talked about it last week, right? We talked about and I know it came down to the last play and a rookie kicker missing a 44-yarder for them to get to this point. But somehow Mike Tomlin lives to fight another day, and in a scenario where his teams have done traditionally very well, winning games outright when nobody expects them to win.
I don't think it's nearly as lopsided as people that I've heard on the air and people I've talked to and people that are talking. I think a lot of people believe the Steelers have a chance to win this game. I don't get the sense that everybody thinks this is like going to be the Texans are just going to run all over the Steelers or the defense. I think this is an even game, and even games, it comes down to things like turnovers, who makes plays at the right time, who is able to basically go ahead and do the things at the end of the game to win. And, Mike Tomlin, to me, I think one of the reasons why the Steelers have a great chance in this game is because Mike Tomlin wins close games. He wins close games.
He does.
And because he wins close games, this is going to be a close game. The Texans' defense is great, and so the Steelers are going to have to work to score. The Steelers' front seven should overwhelm the front seven of the Texans, which means they're going to have to work to score. So a game like that, it comes down to turnovers. It comes down to, a couple of big plays on offense. It comes down to a couple of field goals, whatever. I mean, to me, those are the games that Mike Tomlin wins. So, I get the idea that we want to, try and pump up this thing that, the Steelers are being dissed and disrespected and overlooked and all this other stuff. I don't get that sense. Honestly, I've read a lot of different things nationally. There's a lot of people that believe the Steelers are going to win this game. I mean, I don't think we're in the same place where we were, the last few years, where the Steelers went into the playoffs and they had to face Patrick Mahomes, and then the next year they had to face Josh Allen, and the next year they had to face Lamar Jackson, healthy and everything else.
Right.
That's not the case here. It is really one of those things where they're playing a quarterback who's okay. I don't know if he's great. I don't know if he's whatever he is, but he's okay. And it's got to be a game really that's going to come down to the fourth quarter, and it's going to come down to whoever makes the most plays. Mike Tomlin wins those games. Regardless of what you want to say, he wins those games. So to me, I think it's ridiculous.
I do. Well, it is in part for sure. I think the first 15 minutes are the most critical in this contest, Paul. You look at the numbers over the last 5 playoff games, outscored 73-0. And again, you bring up a great point. Mahomes, Allen, Jackson, right? MVPs, they all have an MVP, right? At least one, right? Mahomes, I think, has 3. Lamar has 2. Allen got his last year. CJ Stroud, books. I don't know if the book's still out on him or not. I mean, he had a great rookie year. Obviously, he was offensive rookie of the year last year. Regression certainly, and that's to be expected. But has bounced back with a decent season this year. Nothing to be ashamed of. A 12-win team. That's a pretty good number. I don't know if you count those as statistics for quarterbacks these days. Some people don't like to do it. It used to be a big number for quarterbacks. He's won a lot of games, but he's been effective for them, to say the very least. 3,000 yards passing. He's only thrown 8 interceptions on 423 attempts. He's completed 64% of his passes. He's been effective when they need him to be. They don't need him to be a 45 pass attempt guy, right? If they get into a situation like that, they're probably behind. So they need him to just manage the game, as they say, let the defense create some turnovers in plus territory, short yardage situations, lead to touchdowns in a potential victory. Let's talk a little bit more about the defense for Houston. They're going to face, obviously, a Steelers offense that has been wishy-washy. They're not great statistically speaking, for sure. Aaron Rodgers, 47 pass attempts last week. My goodness. I think 90 yards rushing helps. I don't know if they can get to 90 yards rushing today. If that's the case, then Rodgers, it's going to fall on him. If he makes 40 pass attempts today, do the Steelers win?
Well, I mean, I think the biggest thing is this. Let's get back to C.J. Stroud.
Okay.
The Texans don't. The Texans basically don't ask him to do a ton. They've simplified everything that they have, thrown at him because, DeMeco Ryans comes from the same school as Mike Tomlin. And that is run the ball, play smart, punt, kick field goals, and let your defense win games. That's what Mike Tomlin wants to do, and he's, he made a living out of it. Now, he hasn't had his defense has sprung a few leaks, but the bottom line is, getting to C.J. Stroud and getting him to turn him over, that's going to be the most important thing that you can do, really. And he doesn't allow that to happen. And he's very good. And I think that, the Texans, I think, are plus 17 in turnovers. I think they've only fumbled it 3 times. They've only lost 3 fumbles all year. And, I think C.J. Stroud has thrown like 7, maybe 8 interceptions. They don't turn it over. So, to me, your offense, now we're flipping back to the Steelers offense, you might not get short fields. You might not get easy, points.
Right.
And the one thing we've seen from the Steelers is they seem to have 1 or 2 or 3 drives every game where they have a shot to, get it down the field quickly. A couple of big plays, a couple of busted plays in the middle of the field. Next thing you know, they're in field goal range. So to me, I think this is really, John, going to be a game about which defense is able to turn the other offense over. Because I think we're going to see a lot of punts in this game tonight. I think we're going to see a lot of, just ugly offense. So which offense can figure it out quickly, and what defense is able to produce game-changing plays to give their offense a little relief.
Yeah, I think and that's great. I agree with you completely. Derek Stingley has had a great season. Jalen Petrie leads them in turnovers, or at least in the interception department. I think Miles Brandt has had a pretty good season. And DK Metcalf coming back means that they're going to have to face I want to say a dominant wide receiver, but he is a capable wide receiver of changing the course of a game. And as I mentioned, I think the first 15 minutes are so critical here. Maybe a possession early on where the Steelers can get a drive together puts them at an advantage. I just want to see them level after 15 minutes of play, or within 3 points either way. If they've got a 3-point lead or down by 3, I'd consider that a major victory, to be quite honest with you, given how poorly they've started in several of these last few playoff games. The Stingley matchup is interesting for sure. I mentioned this earlier when we first kicked the show off. However they handle Metcalf might open up opportunities for some of these other players. Obviously, we saw the touchdown to Cedric Wilson last week in the fourth quarter. We saw, Freiermuth with a big catch down the seam. I mean, throwing the ball between the hash marks. Who would have thought the Steelers would try and even do that? Maybe they can take advantage of some one-on-one matchups where, the Texans have to contend with Metcalf, and some of these other players can step up. I think if Rodgers gets to 40 pass attempts, that's a good thing, because what it means is we're extending drives, right? You talk about having a lot of punts in this game, and I think you're right. We'll see our share of punts today, but I think if Rodgers gets to at least 35 pass attempts, maybe even 40, I think that's a good thing for us. That means he's extending drives and we're able to move the football against them, unless our defense can force a turnover in plus territory. Like you mentioned, some of these two defenses have to do something maybe to help their offenses along.
It also could mean that they're behind.
Right. Well, that too.
That they're behind, and that he's throwing because they have to catch up. I mean, that's really what it comes down to me. Is there's a million ways you can interpret it. I just think that you want to see Aaron Rodgers do what he does best, and that is basically distribute the ball to a lot of guys, get a lot of guys involved, get the ball quick so that you don't take sacks, and also make good decisions in terms of the RPOs and all that other stuff. So, I mean, Aaron Rodgers' value to this team is basically his experience and his mind and his ability to make plays and see plays that are there that wouldn't be there. That's the biggest thing.
Let's talk a little bit about where do I want to go here? I'm so confused as well. I want to talk about Chris Boswell. We haven't talked about him yet. I said last week I was a little concerned. But yeah, and I know you said, hey, there was, the one kick was it was a bad snap, whatnot. Comes into a situation where last week he missed a very big extra point, and it almost cost them. Are you a week later? Any more concern, or are you still on the side of he's going to miss a few? Just curious.
No, I mean I think that one was blocked a little bit. The one of the ones he missed the last couple of weeks, it was a little bit of a shaky snap. I think he's fine. I wouldn't worry about it. In fact, at Heinz Field, obviously he's got a huge advantage over the Texans kicker. But, I looked up the Texans kicker. The Texans kickers, I looked at his stats, and basically I think he's a pretty good kicker. So I don't know, what matters. You kick down in Houston versus kicking here. But again, the Steelers, the Texans are built in many ways like Mike Tomlin's team. Like the team like the dream Mike Tomlin team. Minus, if the Texans had a little better offensive line, it would be Mike Tomlin's team. Young, functional quarterback who can make some plays with his legs and with his arm. Pretty good receivers, but, pound and pound and pound. And, of course, they don't have Joe Mixon, and that was a part of how, they were built with Joe Mixon being in mind. But basically having a defense that just goes out there and they're ass kickers. And that's really what the Texans are. It's what the Steelers want to be. They just haven't been able to be that. They haven't been able to figure out how to do that, and mostly because they've had so many problems with their defense, and that's where you look at it and you say, basically, this game is a good game for their defense because the Texans' offensive line is so bad.
Yeah, but they have not given up a sack in the last 3 games, however. I will say that much about the offensive line for Houston. I mean, they have been able to protect Stroud in that capacity. Right. It is not good. But they have not allowed their quarterback to take a loss. So I agree with you. I think both of these defenses, obviously, with them being statistically the best defense in the NFL, we anticipate them giving us all kinds of problems. Maybe, just maybe, we can give them a few problems. I agree with you. I think whatever defense can make enough plays, especially on the opponent's side of the field, to set their offense up for short drives and scores, probably wins this football game. Let's go back to Aaron Rodgers. Obviously, now the talk late in the week. I thought it was a pretty slow week news-wise, don't you? I mean, there really wasn't a whole lot of big news. I mean, heading into a playoff game, there's usually some sort of buzz. It was pretty quiet this week, although there was a report late in the week saying, hey, Rodgers and, Tomlin and the team are talking about next year. I anticipate this not being completely wrapped up, but I think Rodgers probably has most of his mind made up. Do you anticipate him deciding to come back for one more run next year under Tomlin?
Yeah, I do. I mean, I think I do. It's going to be a couple of months, I'm sure. Then he'll think about it and he'll figure out he wants to do it, and he'll go. I think I do. I've thought that for most of the second half of the season, and I think one of the biggest things is Mike Tomlin is your guy.
Right.
He's his guy. He's his coach. He's the guy that you really think about all of the different ways you think about it. So, yeah, I do. I mean, I feel like both of them will be back regardless of what happens tonight. And, okay, there's one caveat. If Aaron Rodgers suffers another Achilles, some major injury that keeps him out, but, keeps him out for 6 or 8 months. But let's, because there's always one guy that'll call in and say, well, so you always have to cover every single extreme. But all things being equal, win or lose tonight, I really think that he will be back, and I think he'll be back with Mike Tomlin. I will say one thing, one little interesting storyline that developed, and I sort of follow social media. I try and follow it less and less, because it's not good for my mental health. But I try and figure out. I try and figure it out from that standpoint, right? Like, and one of the things that was a buzz last night was everyone was rooting for the Patriots because they would rather play the Patriots than play Buffalo. I mean, I get that sentiment, and I don't know that I completely disagree with it, but I think New England's defense is pretty good. Like, I think that's a pretty good football team.
Yeah.
I mean, I know that we can't take them seriously yet because Drake May hasn't won anything. Well, you know what? Drake May's he's won one more playoff game, right, than the Steelers have in the last 8 years. So, whatever you want to say about them, but to me, I look at that defense and I'm like, they're actually pretty good. That team looks pretty good to me. Not saying the Steelers couldn't beat them, and I probably would rather face them than Josh Allen. But to me, I'd be very careful asking what you wish for. Because the funny thing, and here's the funny thing, I'll go out on this limb. If you were to beat New England, you're probably going to get Josh Allen anyway. Because I think Buffalo, I think they'll beat Denver, and you know what I mean?
Buffalo's on a mission this year. No Mahomes, no Jackson, right? You know what I mean? Like that, Allen. This is Allen's year. That's how I look with Ben, right? The 2 Super Bowls that he won. Right. There was no Tom Brady. Well, Brady was hurt the one year. That's right. He was hurt the one year, and I'm not disagreeing with you. I totally think that they are a team that I think they're the team to beat out of the AFC right now. I totally agree with you. We'll get Todd Haley in here in a minute for you. I just want to say something, Paul.
Yeah.
You want to cut back on social media. I have put my notifications on for you in the last month. Your commentary on the world is like when I don't sleep much at night anymore for any number of reasons. But when I go on X and I see you commenting about World War III, it was nice knowing everybody. It warms my cold, dark heart knowing that you're there to provide some levity for those of us out there that are suffering immensely. All right, without further ado, he's been so kind with his time this year. Todd Haley, former Steelers offensive coordinator, former head coach of the Kansas City Chiefs, course coordinator with Cleveland and Arizona, has 20-plus years in the National Football League. Coach's Corner, as we bring on Todd here in just a few moments to join us, and Paul for his weekly hit. We'll get his thoughts on things and what he feels like today's game is going to unfold as. And without any further ado, I like the hat. Todd Haley, how are you, Coach? Good afternoon.
Yeah, big playoff game. I went with the Sasquatch hat. I mean, I think we need a good squatch out there today.
Who is that squatch? Is it going to be T.J. Watt, perhaps? Derek Harmon? Defensively, can they force enough turnovers in plus territory? Because I think that's what it's going to come down to. I want to hear what you have to say, sir.
I hope it's Pat Freiermuth.
Okay, on the offense. All right.
The connection started to come last week. We've all been wondering why Aaron Rodgers wouldn't throw it to Muth, but at home, the energy, it's the old Heath chance. There's something special about it. So to me, I'd be trying to get him involved early and often. I think that's only going to open up other avenues, but there's something about being in Hines or Acrisure that when a tight end catches a football, the energy level goes up significantly.
I think I was talking to John a little bit about the matchup here and why it's different than the last few playoff games. And I don't know if you agree with me, Todd, but the Texans' offense isn't great, and their offensive line is shaky. I think that gives the Steelers' front seven a really good chance to dictate a lot in this game. And obviously, Houston's defense is really good, which has the potential to be kind of just an ugly rock fight. And if the reality of that is Mike Tomlin wins those kinds of games, I mean, you're not going to out Tomlin Mike Tomlin. Do you agree with me about this?
Yeah, I think very similar to that Patriots Chargers game. Both coaches, they don't care what it looks like. They don't care the amount of points scored. They want that path to victory. Now, unfortunately for the Chargers, they could not protect Justin Herbert, and he got the heck beat out of him. And the Patriots scored enough points. So I see it very similar. I'm with you, Paul. I think, run games, a wash. I love Nico Collins, but DK Metcalf, offensive line's good at times, shaky at times. I would give the edge just defensively to the Texans because they're so fast. But you're in Acrisure. It sounds like it's going to be about 30. It'll feel colder. Hopefully they didn't do a whole lot with the turf. If they can slow them down just a hair, I think it's kind of equal footing. So it will be a rock fight. But as we saw all weekend, Paul, most of those, were thought to be lower scoring games, and each one, other than the Pats Chargers, kind of, big plays were made. And, so I wouldn't be shocked if all of a sudden it got up in the 40s, score wise, but I also wouldn't be shocked if it was 13-10.
Just out of curiosity, Coach, I want to get your thoughts on today's rushing game for the Steelers. I mean, obviously that defensive line is extremely good. A top-ranked defense for sure, best in the NFL according to the numbers. With Will Anderson Jr. and Daniel Hunter kind of anchoring things, can the Steelers get to 90 yards rushing today? Can they get to 100 yards rushing today against that defense?
I don't think that's going to be a win or lose stat, John. I think the combination of rushes, yardage run for plus the catches that Gainwell's going to have or Jaylen Warren's going to have. I think it's more a combination stat, in my opinion. I don't think this is a game where you're like, if they don't rush for 100 yards, they don't have a chance. I think it's going to be, that the combination of those guys making plays that they do. Here's what stood out to me yesterday with I don't know if it was yesterday or the day before, the Rams. You got Puka Nacua out of the backfield running up the seam. I guess it was Saturday, and catching it, the easiest, most open touchdown you'll ever see. With DK being back, I think, other than my feeling that get Freiermuth involved some way, somehow, move DK around, get him some easy touches. This is the one guy on the entire Steeler roster, in my opinion, that whenever he touches it, he can score. You don't know when it's going to be, but the more times you get it in his hands in some easy, convenient way, and you never know when he's going to go off. So, seeing Nacua do that just made me think, I'd be putting DK in a lot of different spots and just easy, quick throws, and maybe one of them he takes off and beats everybody.
What with him back, obviously they're going to be a much better version of themselves than what we saw against the Browns. But the Browns, probably were the other defense a lot like this defense. Really good defense that, you know what I mean? You really have to, work hard to score against and all that other good stuff. So, my question is, when you look at the Texans defense, what do you think is the best or most efficient way to sort of attack them?
Well, they're good, Paul. You know this. They got two, premier pass rushers, Daniil Hunter and Anderson Jr., but their corners are also, as good as I think there are in the league. Now, the Steelers have a couple really good ones too. So, when you're attacking this defense, they're not a bells and whistles type defense. They're not doing a lot of things to try to throw you off. They kind of just line up and 4 across. Sometimes they're playing quarters, sometimes they're playing 2, and sometimes they're going to bring a little pressure. So, it's not going to be a mental strain on Aaron Rodgers. The advantage is the Steelers are at home. He can. I don't believe in doing it every single snap. That starts to wear on my nerves a little bit. Sometimes you got to go on first sound and you got to just snap it and go. But he'll know exactly what they're doing. Then it comes down to execution. Because what the advantage cover 4 gives you is both safeties are involved in the run game. So as soon as that ball is handed off, those safeties are dropping down and involved in the run mix. So, I would think, under center play action will have can have an effect on this group. And I'm kind of hoping the Steelers play less single high and more of what the Texans do, because as we said, there's a lot of evenly matched areas of this game.
Correct me if I'm wrong, Coach, but when I look at the Texans defense, it seems to me that they're pretty simplistic. There's not a lot of the complex disguise schemes. Like you said, they play a lot of cover 4. They mix in a little bit of cover 1 and cover 3. Just basically your 4 down, 1 gap front. Do you think that's a simplicity? It just allows the players to kind of understand their assignments and just kind of play fast without hesitation, or am I off on that, Coach?
No, you're spot on. When you have really good players, you don't need to do, like I said, all the smoke and mirrors stuff. You just let them line up and play fast. And that's why I said last week going into the Ravens game, if we do win and get the Texans, if the Steelers win, it's not we. I got a lot of congratulatory texts, Paul. Everybody, congrats. I'm like, I don't have anything to do with the Steelers. Why are you congratsing me? But, it allows you to keep it really simple. And so does that nullify some of Aaron Rodgers' ability at the line of scrimmage? Yes, but he still has the cadence. And at home, he can use that to slow those edge guys down a little bit. It's not going to help the receivers get open versus, Stingley and Lassiter, but it will slow those guys down up front a little bit. The field hopefully slows them down a little bit. But I think you're spot on. They don't need a lot of extra stuff. They're just pretty good, right, and they're really fast.
It's interesting, Todd. After what we watched all weekend, one of the things that makes Ryan's a really good coach, and obviously he's going to have a lot of success, and their teams don't beat themselves. And one of the things that he is not is one of these numbskulls that we've seen all weekend passing on field goals. And I'm telling you, I was about to lose my mind. The one game where the guy kept passing on field goals. Now they ended up winning because the other guy was even more incompetent. But the bottom line, I'm telling you, is what is going on with these games where you don't just take the points early in the game, take 3 points. This idea that somehow, you're going to be aggressive and go for it. No, I think winning coaches, for the most part, the coaches that win are the ones that take the highest percentage plays they can take and they're not afraid to punt, and they're not afraid to kick field goals, and they're not afraid to, what in the hell is going on here?
I think the same reason, Paul, some coaches take their shirts off in the locker room, make sure there's a camera there. It's that bravado. This is how we do it. Listen, there's a formula to winning football games. You know it. When the Bears went for it on 4th and 4 on their own 32, my head about popped off also. You're down 11, but come on. And then you get away with it. But it's there's something crazy going on, but then calm down, because then I watch the Bills, Sean McDermott, they're 4th and 3 at the 50. A lot of these young guys would have said, we're going. He punted the football. You pin people deep. You let your defense play. Something good might happen. They might throw it to you. They might shank a punt, and all of a sudden field position changes significantly. I don't know. I think I said on here, it's the dumb stat, and that even analytics in that situation with the Bears, it said, what should you do? Go for it or punt? It said punt. And you're going for it on your own 32, but when they put that analytics stuff up there, sorry, I almost said the wrong word. It's just any Tom, Dick, or Harry sitting there watching the game. Oh, you should go for it here. It's still football. There's a lot of work and effort and study that goes into it. There's a feeling for how the teams are playing. What's the weather? How's my defense playing? And I get it. It worked out for the Bears, but man, I thought Ben Johnson was trying to lose the game.
Right. It's not just him, though. Jim Harbaugh passed on field goal. I mean, every game it's been guys passing on field goals. I just don't get it.
Points in the playoffs matter.
Exactly.
Ask who missed the 2 field goals and an extra point. And then Matt LaFleur is getting fired.
The Packers coach,
everybody wants to fire him. The kicker misses 2 field goals, an extra point. 2 players drop huge balls that would have been difference makers. So, points matter all the time, but in the playoffs, we know turnovers mean more. We know points mean more. So, anytime you got a chance to put points on the board, you got to do it.
We've got Go ahead, Paul. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, it makes it, the 2 guys that are coaching tonight probably get criticized by their fan bases too, that they're too conservative too often. But you know what? They don't beat themselves. You're going to have the Steelers win. It's because they're going to beat the Texans. If the Texans win, it's because they're going to beat the Steelers. It's not because we're going to be sitting here tomorrow talking about how they passed on field goals and passed up and went for it at 4th and. The one guy, who was it that went for it on 4th and 4 on his own 35-yard line and basically gave up a touchdown? I mean, we won't be talking about that idiocy after watching tonight's game.
No, that will not be the issue for whoever loses this game. I agree, Paul, 100%. I pull my hair out. It's just to me, it's guys are getting jobs because they get this reputation of I'm really aggressive and I got these trick plays. It's like Carolina a couple weeks ago running a flea flicker in a monsoon. And the running back slips and all of a sudden it's a turnover and you lose a game. I mean, it's just, at times common sense has to prevail.
We're talking with Todd Haley, of course, former Steelers offensive coordinator and head coach of Kansas City Chiefs. Paul Zeiss of the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette joining us. Bill, you had a question.
Well, no, I said that 4th and 4. I believe that was Ben Johnson, wasn't it?
Yeah. And you said that perfect, Ben Johnson. You said it perfect.
That's the Pittsburgh E's coming out. Can't help it.
I love the fact that he's this tough guy after the game. Well, come on. This guy. Come on.
What's up with that? Not shaking hands. He was like
shook his hand.
Well, he shook his hand.
He shook his hand.
Okay, but
they don't like each other. But Chuck Noll never had a good relationship with Jerry Glanville. I mean, the coaches just don't like each other.
He was standoffish though with Kaylee Hartling too when he come out of it. Was just I don't know.
Listen, I had a non-handshake situation for good reason too. So Emotions get involved. But I will say, the Bears and the Packers, this is the longest rivalry. They've been doing it for 104 years, 200 and how many games? 260 something games. I've been with the Bears. We went 13-3, and 2 of our losses were to Brett Favre and the Packers, and our fans would not let. I'm like, we won 13 games. They're like, we don't care. They'd rather win 2 games and they both be against the Packers than win 13. So it's a kind of a Ravens Steelers type rivalry, but even longer.
Todd, a quick prediction before we let you go. Or Todd, Paul, did you have anything you wanted to ask the coach before we?
I think it's good. Like I said, I just feel like these rivalries are good. They're good, but that guy just drives me crazy. Anybody that thinks they're smarter, thinks they're smarter than everybody else, it just is silly.
Hey, Paul, it's the money. There's too much money in the NFL. You're getting a lot of smart guys that wouldn't be bugging us. They'd be working, like I said, for IBM or Coca-Cola or some, fancy company, but now they want to be involved in football. So the money, blame it on the money.
Blame it on the money. Coach, prediction before we let you go.
Well, I explained to you last week that I'm very superstitious. I kind of have a feeling in my heart the way I want the game to go, but I'm going to say Texans 24, Steelers 21.
This might be the first time you've actually predicted a Steelers loss.
No. Oh, you forgot last week already, John.
Oh, that's right. Jeez. Yeah, well, I forget 10 minutes ago. All right, Todd, I appreciate your time as always. Thank you. Maybe we can do it next week. Let's see.
Yeah, maybe. Not according to my prediction, but you never know. Paul, enjoyed it always. Thanks, Johnny.
Thank you, sir. All right, Todd Haley, gracious with his time every single week, the former head coach of the Chiefs, offensive coordinator for multiple teams, including the Steelers. Upper St. Clair graduate, I might add to that as well. A couple more minutes with Paul Zeiss, and we'll let him get on his way. Paul, I got to ask you about this, just because I think it's been – I didn't think anything of it. Like, I saw this last night, and I didn't really pay much attention to it because it was, like, early in the morning. And, okay, this woman goes to a Jaguars playoff game, and afterwards consoles Liam Cohen, this woman who works for what is the equivalent of what was the Pittsburgh City paper, I guess. Jacksonville Free Press writer Lynn Jones spent 40, 50 seconds consoling him and saying nice things, and Duval and everybody, all the journalists come out of the woodwork, all the wretched media, oh, this is terrible, and Pat McAfee today launches into a diatribe about lay off of her. I said my piece about it. The woman doesn't cover the team, probably doesn't cover a whole lot of Jacksonville football, let alone Jaguar football. Probably doesn't spend a whole lot of time in sports, post-game pressers, let alone an NFL playoff game. She was just in the moment as a woman who, or just as a person. I want to take sex out of this. Just as a football fan, and just kind of wanted to tell her head coach, hey, it's going to be okay. What are your thoughts on this? Poor Lynn Jones, who was getting attacked by a bunch of scribes saying journalism is dead.
I'm trying to be very, very nice about this. The press conference is not the place for fanboys to act. There's nothing worse than when you're like in a college setting, like sometimes you go to like West Virginia, they finally stopped doing it. But way back when I covered West Virginia, they'd have like boosters and people in the press conference, and they would say crazy things, coach, that's not the place. That's not the place for it.
Right.
It's a professional setting. You have a professional relationship. You're not friends with these people. You're there to ask questions about the football game, the football team, and whatever. You're not there to provide encouragement and be out. Because here's the thing, John. If we start saying, well, that's okay, because she's on a credential, quote, she can do whatever. What happens if, so she say, whatever his name is, Liam, guess what? I don't think you're doing a very good job. I honestly agree with all the sentiment out there that you should be fired. You know what? All these fans will be losing their minds. That he doesn't need encouragement from her. And you know what? If he does, she could try and grab him as he's running out the room or something, or wait him out, coming out of the locker room. There's a million ways she could tell him that in person and in private, not at a press conference. And again, I think people are like misconstruing this that, you're saying those 19 seconds when she talked, somebody else had some great question. No, it's just not the time or place. There's a time and place for everything. That's not the time and place, period. I just don't understand why people can't figure this out. Everybody wants people to be fanboys of these teams. No, you don't. You want us to ask questions and be objective. That's what you want. And that's how it goes. So to me, that's to me what I would tell you where we're at. I mean, I don't know.
Okay. Paul, I thought it was cringeworthy. I mean, I write for the Riverhounds, and I know, you have to go in there. You can't be a fanboy. You have to be neutral in the whole thing. You have to ask the questions, right? You can't. I mean, like you said, that's not the time and the place for that. I mean, you grab the coach afterwards and tell him that if you want to do that. I totally agree. That's not the time and place. And I think she was somebody that did not cover sports too often.
I don't think she covered. I don't know. I from what I've read initially, from what I've seen, that she's not. Look, she writes for basically a free paper, right? I mean,
here's the other thing. Here's the other thing. If I'm the coach and I just lost a playoff game, I don't want to hear that.
You don't want to hear that, right? Exactly.
I thought he handled it fairly well. I don't.
Yeah, but I mean, my thing is okay. Good. Well, thank you for validating me. Get the hell out.
Look, it's not like it's not almost unlike the Super Bowl. When you get into the playoffs, in the NFL playoffs, right? Credential requests go up. Jacksonville wants the attention anyhow, right? They're down in that market where they're the big fish, but look, they don't sell their stadium out. They're looking for as much publicity as they can get down there in that particular market. So they're credentialing the Jacksonville, whatever the heck it is, and this woman gets the assignment from the editor who probably doesn't care, and so she goes in and she's just being a fan at that point in time. And I'm not saying that there's a place for that. But I think that the reaction, piling on this woman is a bit much because she's not there every week, and this was something probably enjoyable for her, right? She's a fan of the team. Her boss says, "Hey, here's a credential. Maybe go ask a question or two," and she finds herself in this big spotlight scenario, and now Pat McAfee's coming to her defense, and people are attacking her, and it's a much bigger story than it should have been. Go ahead.
You gotta know the room too. I mean, this almost takes me back. Do you guys remember when that she was a reporter from Tampa Bay? She didn't cover football at all, hardly, and they put her on assignment. And she asked Todd Bowles about playing up in Detroit, and she says, it's going to be 26 degrees up there. How's your team preparing for that? And he's like, you do realize we're playing in a dome, right? Like, it's just, I don't know. Like, I mean,
again, I don't think it's her place on a normal basis to be in a locker room.
No,
it's just not. I just think it was just, I think we've probably made a little too much over it. But poor Lynn has taken enough abuse as it is. All right, before I let you go, Paul, thoughts on the game? What do you predict?
You know what? I've liked the Steelers all week, and I still like the Steelers, to be honest. I just feel like it's a good matchup for them. I think that the games that Mike Tomlin usually wins are kind of games like this. And I feel like if you look at everything that is going into this game, I feel like it's going to be a fourth quarter game, something the Steelers generally grind out. And I feel like Boswell has the advantage in his home field over their kicker. So I'm going to go, I don't think it's going to be a rock fight, but I could see something like, 20-16 or 19-17 or something like that. I could see the Steelers. So I'm going to say the Steelers win I'm going to go with 20. I'm going to go with 20-17. That's what I'm going to go.
Okay. Paul Zeiss, Pittsburgh Post-Gazette. Thank you for your time as always, sir. You're very kind. We love having you on, and hopefully we can do it next week.
No, absolutely. We'll talk to you, sir.
All right, Paul Zeiss. Go follow him on X, please. It's just, there's nothing more than seeing him commenting about things that are either, it doesn't matter. It can be sports, it can be non-sports. And Paul's just got something to say. It puts a smile. I'm usually in a bad mood. And when I see Paul tweeting about, like, World War III, nice knowing everybody, it kind of makes me smile, because I have that kind of dark humor about me as well. Bill Akins joining me. We're awaiting the arrival of Urinating Tree, a YouTube podcaster. He is a big player in the sports sphere.
There he is.
We'll get him on in a few minutes. I want to let him get on here in a few minutes.
Sure.
I came across him. We were supposed to do that Detroit pregame, and it didn't happen here. And so I found myself just kind of floating around in this space. And because our pregame show has been where we've had a good audience at, and we've grown our audience for sure. I mean, we're starting out from zero, and that's where I kind of came across him and a few others, and he's a huge Steeler guy, and he's from Pittsburgh. And as I started kind of looking into him, I left him a message. About a week later, he gets back to me, and the fact that he's going to give us a few minutes of his time is great because he has his own stream that he does, and he's something else. I mean, he's got almost 700,000 subs, and his story is unique. I thought it was fairly unique. And so we're going to get him on here in a few minutes. I'm going to give him a few minutes backstage just because I thought, the fact that he was able to, make some time for us is pretty cool. So we'll get to your dating tree here in just a few minutes. I do want to talk a little bit about, as we get closer to this start, obviously, the kicking situation, right, with Boswell and, Fairbrain that, he's had a pretty good season. I think he's got 140 points. Boswell does have an advantage for sure. And maybe, just maybe, we get into that scenario again where their kicker has to make something big happen at the end of the game and not used to these elements. And I don't know what the wind forecast is going to be like. Haven't really looked at it too much. We'll do it once we kind of get off the air.
According to Mary Hours, it was supposed to be pretty windy.
Okay, so that's obviously going to play a role. That'll play a role not just with the kicking game, but the passing game as well. And as somebody who likes to bet totals, I've always favored wind versus elements. In terms of looking at that particular angle. So that'll be interesting to see how those things play out. All right. Of course, portions of our show today are brought to us by Arch Masonry and Restoration. They've been a sponsor since day one, much like North Park Lounge Richland. We cannot do the show without their help. Arch Masonry and Restoration, hiring brick masons, block masons, concrete finishers, and labor help, even in January. That's right. They are working year-round. If you're in one of those trades and you're not working, you should give Arch Masonry and Restoration a call, 412-564-5733. archmasonryinc.com. I've worked with them for over a decade in the construction business. Good people, competitive wages, great benefits programs. They can teach you a career in the building trades. You don't have to know anything. They've got programs that will advance your career as well. Arch Masonry and Restoration, one of our sponsors here on Steel City Sunday. We're just a few moments away from bringing on our next guest. We'll get him on here in a few minutes. We've got Jerry DePaula, longtime writer from the Pittsburgh Tribune Review at 5:15 p.m. John Fetko, of course, joining Jerry as well. Those two provide some entertaining comments and just banter back and forth when they join us every single week. We'll have them on around 5:15 p.m. This evening. Let's see if we can get Tree in now, because I know he's got something to get to once he's done here. This man has a lot of subs on YouTube, almost 700,000, got 135,000 on X. Maybe one of the more entertaining people you'll come across in this sphere. Urinating Tree joining us here on Steel City Sunday. Hello, Tree. Thanks for coming on board.
Oh, man. Thank you guys for having me on. It's a pleasure. How you doing today, man?
I tell you what, when I saw you with that cross last week, I about fell out of my chair.
This one right here.
I'm telling you this. Go ahead, please.
You want to hear the introduction of how this came to be?
I absolutely do, sir. Please go ahead and tell me.
So what happened? I used to live in my grandma's old house. This used to be hanging on her wall. It was this and a picture of the watermelons that randomly showed up. So I brought them with me. This is kind of like my good luck talisman. It reminds me of my grandma, and that's how I bring it. I know people see it as sacrilege, but it's more like it's sort of like this divine intervention. I mean, we put holy water on the end zone. So that's how I see it right there. So it's just like, I call it the Jeebus.
I watched the end of that game. I left the TV, and when I saw you with that, I went in the bedroom. My wife's like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "I've got to watch this guy on YouTube because he's got Jesus on a cross, and he's like, this is going to help." I mean, it was the greatest thing. I'm telling you right now. And with a beer in hand, and it was just amazing. It really is. I think your story is interesting because you started out, from what I can gather, what I read about you, and kind of try to learn a little bit about your background. You started out as a podcaster talking about video games. You were doing video game reviews, correct?
Yes. A long time ago. I had gone dormant for a bit, but I was working in between the restaurant industry at the time as well. So I had been just juggling back and forth until, about 2018. So it was kind of that sort of balance there. So it's kind of like an unexpected sort of turn. That's how this came to be, I feel like.
And you're from Pittsburgh, and you still reside here, correct?
Absolutely. I'm based in the Mon Valley right now. Okay. I lived in Troy Hill for about 7 years, lived in Avalon for 2, grew up in Wexford, so very familiar with the area.
Okay, well, we just moved from Wexford down to Allison Park. My kids go to Carson Middle School, so yeah, it's good. And it's nice to be back here in the area. I moved away for a while, and when I entered this space, I had no idea what I was getting into. When you made that transition, because you said you took about 4 years off,
yes,
and then you started talking about sports.
Yeah,
talk about that change for you, please. I'm curious to how that all evolved for you.
Actually, what ended up happening for me around the time was that I had mostly been out of the space. I had been kind of in a rut in terms of career advancement. I'd kind of stalled out in restaurants. I was trying to get into radio for a little bit. I was part of Y108, 100.7 Stars of Board Op, but the layoffs happened, and I got down to 10 to 15 a week. I thought it was done. So more or less, it just came down to the thinking where, okay, I'm not thinking of anything. And then, as weird as it sounds, the 2016 election happened. And then I just figured I need a few things to say. I might as well make a video about it. I found some really old Radio Shack headphone set from about 10 years ago. There's a little bit of a rattle every time you hear about that. And an old copy of Windows Movie Maker. I figured it'd be 3 minutes, get in, get out, and done. And then I realized at the time, it felt good to do it again. So what ended up happening was I just had a bunch of random videos I had done for a month. And the sports really came into it. In 2016, the Cleveland Browns were about to hit their first 0-16 mark. They didn't make that year. But there was a video I saw at the time, or a couple years too. It was only in Cleveland, a history of the Browns before the merger. It's still up there. It's a really good video. I love the fact that they got a lot of old B-roll about that. But the problem was it only went up to the beginning of the Haslam era. So I'm thinking potentially as a challenge, bridge between the modern era and that Haslam. So that's where the first Cleveland Browns video came to be. And it more or less just slowly cascaded from there. And it's just weird as it sounds. It was just I wish I said I had this wonderful plan and I was doing everything set in stone. It just stumbled into place. My comparison, if you've ever watched Saving Private Ryan, it's the dude that leans against the wall, the brick wall collapses, and there's a bunch of Nazis that are on the other side. That's what I really see it as. I stumbled into it.
When were you at CBS Radio? When did you go over there? When did you start working there?
2012 to 2016. I was with a different division. I saw you were in with the Fan, but they're at those different clusters. So
okay, so you and I crossed paths without knowing one another back then. That's interesting.
Probably.
Okay, excellent. So it's good to see a radio guy, do well in this space. Talk about the challenges that you. Yeah, look, you've got a great following, and I see you're doing a podcast with other podcasters that are, from different teams that have had some success. Talk about the challenge of keeping that base going and keeping the content fresh. It's got to be hard, I would imagine.
It is, but the main thing is I always try to see in a situation, how can I get better every single day? I try to evolve what I can do. I mean, looking at me from stuff from 2017 to now, there's probably some subtle differences, but more or less they are gradual over time. I don't really try to force things, but my belief in terms of making a video, if it's not funny or informative to me, it's not going to be for anybody else. And if like I accomplished that, I mean, obviously there are a lot of people who aren't going to like me. I mean, that's just the nature of the beast, and that's understandable. But more or less, it's one of those things where you might get people who are like-minded. I mean, I feel like I've built a really solid audience, at least from my perspective. And also, like, I enjoy what I do. Like, I just do the Steeler games, not because of, like, anything crazy. I enjoy doing them. I mean, I like, when I was a kid, I wanted to be a play-by-play announcer. And this is, like, kind of like my vicarious fulfillment of that dream. So that's just, I always see it there.
I thought, and we got Derpy saying that, Yinzer mode activated, play the polka. We're going to the Super Bowl.
Yes. Oh, yeah. Oh, dude. That's one of my things. I mean, I have something called the Yinzer mobile. And it's just like, it is literally just a Cub Cadet zero-turn mower, an Ultima ZT1. I have a bit of a big yard. So one of these days, like, I had just a thing of just like going around with a terrible towel. I brought on some jorts, an old Jack Lambert jersey, and I'm just waving it around. And I just play it back to PA polka to it. It's the Will Glahey version. But it's just back to it. It's just how it goes.
No, listen, your personality drives, and I would say that about a number of these guys, and I know there's others out there, and it was interesting to kind of pop around and look and see what you guys are doing. You're literally calling the game. You've got thousands of people coming in. You've got the super chat going. It's really amazing. But your personality definitely drives it, and that's why you're so successful. Urinating Tree, successful YouTube podcaster, Pittsburgh guy, joining us here on the pregame show. Let me hear about your thoughts on the game today. What do you anticipate? Is this going to be a rock fight, or could we see some points actually scored in this game?
I am not sure. I mean, quite frankly, my belief is this. The Steelers should technically not be in the playoffs right now. Tyler Loop should have made that kick. But to me right now, this is pretty much no expectations. I'm seeing this as house money for the Steelers because, quite frankly, you've been given a new chance. You have pretty much a lot of different elements coming into play. Potential final game of Tomlin, potential final game of Aaron Rodgers, potential final game of Cam Hayward if the rumors are true. So, honestly, there's a lot walking into this. I think the Houston Texans defense is going to be really tough to crack. But if we can get to a situation like with Brian Flores against Minnesota, if you can get the quick game going, I think there could be something there. I don't know about the run game per se, but I think there could be something. Now, the question is, can the defense be able to stop C.J. Stroud and the Texans offense? They're very hot and cold. And I know there's a lot of issues with Nick Haley down there. But I think this is going to be more of a low-scoring grind. I feel it in my bones, more or less.
What did you think of Aaron Rodgers' play this year?
It's very up and down. He had his moments where you see that old flashes of old glory, like, for example, the go routes to DK Metcalf. And then there were some games where he just went ice cold. Chargers, Browns, well, though, to be fair, that was without DK Metcalf. The Bills. And then there were a couple others as well. I believe the Patriots, he didn't do that well either. But at the same time, it's like, what Aaron Rodgers are we going to get? I know Aaron Rodgers has the mythos of him being in the playoffs, and this is why you brought him here. But how much does he have left in the tank? I mean, I know he may come back next year, and the sad thing is he's probably the best option we have right now because who else is there? Kyler Murray, Tua, Kirko, the draft class isn't good.
Yeah.
So they're kind of in like a rock and a hard place right now.
They are for sure. The draft class does not look good, and the fact that the free agents that are going to be out there are going to be very mid at best probably doesn't leave them a whole lot of options. Urinating Tree, a YouTube podcaster. He's also on X. You can find this guy all over social media. He does an amazing job of just putting out great content. You can follow him during the game. Like that's a wild scene in and of itself, where he'll call the game and take comments from the super chat, and he's carting that giant cross around that his grandmother had in the home when he was growing up. I think that's a pretty amazing thing. Mike Tomlin, where are you at on Mike Tomlin coming back next year? How do you feel as look, all of the noise, and I said this earlier, maybe about a week or so ago, he's not immune to the noise. Obviously, the Bills game, he caught a lot of that. The coaches generally speaking are going to keep that out. But how do you feel about getting another season of Mike Tomlin here as a Steelers head coach?
It's complicated because I feel like he does want to come back if he doesn't win, but to at least break Chuck Noll's win record. I think that's going to be the thing. I know there are a lot of grumblings about him potentially moving on to Fox. And I think that's honestly the right move. I think he would do well on television, like replacing Terry Bradshaw over there. My belief is he's a good coach. I think he's a master motivator of men, and I think he's done like a lot to build his legacy. He's going to Canton, whether we like it or not.
Right.
But I feel like it's kind of like a John Harbaugh situation where I kind of feel like he's been past his expiration date. And I don't know how to really like change that, because nowadays you're in a situation where you've won your division. You've kind of in a situation where, I mean, you may have a lot of your vets coming back. You're close to the Chuck Noll record. So I think potentially he does come back for another year. Now, if they extend his option, I'm not sure about. I don't know what his future plans are going to be from there. So question is, once again, I don't know what Tomlin's really thinking right now. And I don't know what the Steelers are thinking right now. I think the Steelers would love to keep him back, but I don't know Tomlin's future. Has he burned out, or is he in a situation where he thinks he can go another year? I'm not sure.
I think he definitely wants to come back and take that record down. I think that's the last feather in his cap before he makes any kind of decision. Before I let you go, I wanted to just say I'm impressed that you would check me out or check us out and see, who we are and what we do. And you made a comment about John Fedko. You were like, "Oh my God, John Fedko."
Yeah, I know.
Right? Like, haven't seen him in a long time, right?
Yeah. I grew up with John Fedko on WPXI. I remember watching him when I was a kid at 6 a.m. And I'm like, I remember he was like out of the radar for a long time. I'm like, whoa, John Fedko.
Well,
what's up?
I wanted to bring him in with you here for just a few moments, because John is one of the greatest people I've ever come across in this business in 30 years. I'm telling you right now, working with John was one of the great pleasures of my career. John Fedko, this is Urinating Tree. Massive audience on YouTube. Big fan of yours. I just thought I'd bring you on for a moment and just let you know you got fans out there, John. Not that you didn't already know that.
Well, I love the cross. Man. I love the cross.
It's my grandma's old cross, baby.
Now I'm a huge fan. I know you got 636,001 fans now, only because of the cross. That is tremendous.
It actually started later, but still.
It's absolutely awesome. And I mean, obviously the biggest story of the game last week was the priest putting the holy water in the end zone. And don't tell me that's not the reason.
Exactly.
That is the
baby. Come on.
See, and the other thing is that cross now. Now there's another reason why the Steelers won. That the field goal was an absolute miracle. So you got the priest and the holy water, and now we've got the cross.
Yes.
So now we know.
People dressed up as Jesus, like on the Steeler parade.
Let's not go that far.
I mean, I'm just saying. I saw it at the parade this morning. So
okay,
we're out.
All right, Tree. Before I let you go, prediction on the game tonight, sir.
Oh, this is tough. Because, here's the thing. My heart is saying Pittsburgh. My brain's saying Houston. So I don't know which side to really take. I mean, the more I think about it, the more I buy into Pittsburgh. But I'm thinking, crap. I'm thinking last second Texans win by 2. But that's just it's because I don't know. I'd love to be wrong.
Listen, I believe in the reverse jinx. I'm very good at it. Urinating Tree, huge following on YouTube, great following on X. Go check out his content. You probably already have. Tree, thank you. I can't thank you enough for doing this for me. Okay?
It's a pleasure, man. Thank you for having me on.
All right, thank you. There he is, Urinating Tree. And John Fedko to boot. John, I swear, he sent me, he's like, I can't believe you have John Fedko on your show. What is this? He's like, this is the most amazing thing. I'm like, he's great, and I had to bring him on. I thank you for doing it, because you still have that ability to draw that out of people, John, all these years later. It's one of the great things about you that I love. You still have that ability. Got some feedback coming in there. Let's bring Jerry DePaula in. One of the great things about you that I love. A little too loud.
Yeah, I've lost audio on this. There's Jerry. So let me see if I can figure out how I can get you.
I can hear you. Can you hear me? I don't know. We'll see. Jerry DePaula, can you hear us?
I can hear you fine. Can you hear me?
Okay. Yes, absolutely, we can.
Okay.
John, can you hear us now?
Well, I have no audio, John. So.
All right. Let's take him into the backstage and see if we can get that figured out. Okay. We're going to take you to the backstage for a moment or two, John. Let you get that figured out. Jerry DePaula, hello, sir. Good afternoon.
John, how are you? Good to see you.
Nice nice. It's nice to be seen and heard again for another week. It's quiet here at North Park Lounge, Richland. Hopefully anticipating a large crowd here tonight. I don't know how to talk. I don't know how to gauge the mood right now, Jerry. What are you thinking right now? I mean, it was a quiet week, media-wise. Like there just wasn't a whole lot of buzz around this game, if you will. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, there wasn't any buzz between the two teams. I don't think there's there isn't a real rivalry. The Steelers and the Texans don't play all that much, I guess, even though they're in the same conference. But the fans are up for it. I think that, I even saw people really getting into this game. McKeesport School District is having a 2-hour delay tomorrow. So the kids can stay up and watch the game tonight, and the teachers.
I saw Kabali talk about that today. John Fedko, do we have you back? Can you hear it?
I can hear you now. Something flipped off when he left. So anyway, okay. I'm back and I can hear you.
John Fedko and Jerry DePaula joining us for their weekly roundtable. Go ahead,
Jerry DePaula.
I wanted you to ask Urinating Tree where his name came from. I've heard of urinating on a tree, but I've never heard of urinating tree.
You know what?
What's it mean?
Give my mind a few moments. I read about this. I meant to ask him about it, but I know I read about this online somewhere. It's genius. His shtick is just amazing. The fact that he worked at CBS Radio while I was over there is even more amazing. He's been able to parlay his talent and desire to do all these things, and he does them. Like there, and he's not the only one, by the way. There's a whole subsect, and this is across the NFL. There's a whole subsect of podcasters that go on YouTube and will literally call the game. They'll broadcast the game like they're watching the game and they're calling it, and there's thousands of people just throwing money at them in the super chat. It's crazy. And I'm not even kidding. I'm not talking like you got your onesies and twosies and fivesies. I saw a guy give him $200. I saw people, they throw money around like it's crazy online.
Wow.
But that's dedication, right, to the personality that individual is. I'll have to ask him. If I can't remember offhand, I'll find out what the genesis of it is. I could have swore I had read it online. All right, John Fedko, initial thoughts as we are about 3 hours away from kickoff. Your thoughts on the crazy ending last week and your initial thoughts on today's game against Houston.
Yeah, John, I mean, you should have had plastered all over your site my prediction last week. I mean, come on, man, you're killing me. I predicted the Steelers would win by 2.
Okay.
And I also said that TJ Watt was going to have a turnover, and he had the big interception. So you got to get a new promo person for this channel, John, and you'd increase your viewers. You'd have 636,000 followers like that last guy. Now listen, Steelers are going to win this game. We're going to do another show, get it all ready to go. Jerry, be ready for next week. The Steelers are winning this game. There is no way C.J. Stroud, one of the most overrated quarterbacks in the NFL, there's no way he's coming in to Acusure or Three Rivers, whatever they're calling it down there. There's no way he's coming into Pittsburgh and winning on the road on a Monday night. It's not happening. That's my number one. Don't overthink anything. It's not complicated. I saw you had on a guy from Vegas. He's missing the whole point again. This is why you have me on, John, because I'm the only guy that says that people watch too much ESPN. Those guys are all idiots. C.J. Stroud is one of the most overrated quarterbacks in the league. You're going to find out tonight. There's a reason why they don't let him throw. There's a reason why he only has 15 attempts. And I know a couple of years ago when he was a rookie, he had an okay game. He threw for 300 yards, completed like 16 passes. It wasn't him. He's terrible. For an NFL quarterback, I'm going to back up a little bit. All the quarterbacking in the NFL is terrible. He's terrible. As far as put him in the 1970s, he wouldn't have made the team. That's why Steelers are going to win. So we can talk about other stuff, but C.J. Stroud's overrated, and I know he doesn't turn the ball over. He also doesn't do anything. They're not going to score. Houston's not going to. You can talk about how great their defense is. They're not going to score. Let's start with that. Maybe the Steelers lose 3-0. They're not. Steelers are winning this game. Always, when everything's kind of mumble, jumble, whatever, take the better quarterback. Well, in this case, take the quarterback that's 10 times better. Aaron Rodgers, at whatever his age is 10 times better than C.J. Stroud. That's my analysis.
Jerry DePaula.
I agree with you, John, that C.J. Stroud is maybe a little bit overrated as a quarterback. He's still a younger guy. He's playing against the Steelers secondary. And the Steelers secondary did some research today. The Steelers secondary has given up more yards per game than all passing yards per game than all but three teams in the league. 243 yards a game just through the air. They don't have a running game. The running game is very mediocre, maybe less than that. And Stroud is maybe very mediocre, maybe less than that. But their defense can turn this game around. The defense is going to create some turnovers tonight. They're going to stop the Steelers' run game, I believe. They're going to put a lot of pressure on Aaron Rodgers. The 42-year-old Aaron Rodgers. I'm one of those guys that think he should come back next year, but I'm also one of those guys that has a lot of respect, for Hunter and for Anderson. They're two edge pass rushers, and that secondary. That secondary the Texans have is vicious, and I don't think the Steelers are going to score enough points to win the game.
I'm no fanboy for the Steelers, but I feel so strong about the Steelers in this game again. The NFL is unwatchable to me. Again, this is why you should have loved me on, because I'm not an NFL fan, but I can't stand the NFL. Give me spring training. My son leaves for spring training on February 5th. I can't wait for baseball. The NFL's a joke, and everybody's saying how great the games were this past weekend. There was so much terrible quarterbacking in those games. That quarterback for Carolina literally blew that game. That was the most pathetic 37 seconds I've ever seen a quarterback have. He's got 37 seconds. He's scrambling around. He has no idea what he's doing. These NFL quarterbacks don't know what they're doing. And that's why Josh Williams dominates. That's why the guy at Indiana dominates, because he's the only quarterback in college who's any good. That's why he wins by 50 points. C.J. Stroud is going to get pressure on him. And if you look at the stats, they move the pocket around on him. When they give him time, he does okay? But their offensive line's not great. I love the Steelers' pass rush. The Steelers are going to have a defense put in place to give this kid on the road all the pressure he wants. And when you put him under pressure, look at the stats, he does terrible. They're going to put him under pressure. They're going to rush him. He is going to turn the ball over. They're not going to be able to score. Houston's not scoring. I know everybody says their defense is great. The object's to score points.
John,
and so again, I'll throw another stat out there. Another obvious one, but I said it last week, and it'll happen again this week. Turnover battle. Whoever wins the turnover battle is going to win, and that's going to be the Steelers. Aaron Rodgers is going to game manage this. He's not going to turn the ball over. DK Metcalf is back. He's going to be huge. He'll have a big game. I agree with my main man, Hazlitt. Freiermuth's going to be huge tonight. I think the Steelers are going to get at least 17. I don't see Houston scoring more than 6. I like the Steelers by 10 because and I listened to the guy from Vegas. I'm like, we should have had me on with him, John. This is the best matchup for the Steelers. This is the worst. Again, these guys are lost. They're watching ESPN and watching those guys build up guys like C.J. Stroud. C.J. Stroud's not scoring tonight. He's not. I know you're telling me the defense, that the Steelers secondary is not good. I think they're okay. I love the Steelers front four.
They're less than okay against the Ravens.
Yeah. I'll listen. I'll take Lamar Jackson in his condition way over C.J. Stroud. You got a guy. This is the perfect team for the Steelers to be getting on a Monday night at home. A mediocre quarterback, a team that can't run. Their defense is okay, but if you look at all their big wins,
the number one defense in the league, just okay.
I don't care. They don't have a quarterback. And they're not the Chicago Bears or the New York Giants in the 80s. They don't have a quarterback. And they're a home team. They do all of this at home. They're on the road. Crowd's going to be a huge factor. Aaron Rodgers is going to take that into consideration, and Stroud's are going to be able to handle the crowd. I don't see Houston scoring. I love the Steelers in this game. And I know you can take all of them. First of all, listen, there's a couple of things. Everybody's talking about the Steelers can't win a playoff game. Well, this is a Monday night game. The Steelers can win Monday night games. They always win Monday night games at home. They win them all. So they didn't win a Monday game during COVID or whatever that was, because it was an afternoon game. They win these games at home. They're going to win this game. This is the best matchup they could have gotten. The only team I'm scared of is Buffalo because of Josh Williams.
The Chargers.
I'm scared of Buffalo. I'm scared of Buffalo.
They're the team to beat in the AFC.
They are the team to beat.
I firmly believe it.
They are the team to beat. I'll tell you what.
Guess who beat Buffalo this year, John? Guess who beat Buffalo already? The Texans. And they beat the 49ers. And they beat Jacksonville.
Okay. This is the playoffs in Pittsburgh. Windy. The field's going to be terrible. Houston's not going to score, Jerry. They're not going to score. Let's see. Maybe
I'm wrong. If they don't score, then the Steelers will win. But they're going to score.
That's my analysis.
They won 12 games this year, John. They won 12 games this year. They have a great.
They're
defense.
Overrated. I don't care. I don't have a quarterback. Listen. You what? That's my analysis. They're not going to score.
I respect
love
that.
the Steelers. I told my sons.
That's all.
First of all, I love playoff dogs. I love NFL playoff dogs. This. I don't know who's making these lines. I mean, I think the Steelers should be 3-point favorites. Are they still dogs in this game?
3-point dogs, I believe.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. But there's a reason why.
I'm not a fanboy either. You know that. I'm not a
fanboy. You're just wrong. That's all.
Well, there's a reason why they're an underdog, John. I mean, they're facing the number one defense in the league, 27 turnovers, 30.
You just got to score. And they can't score. I know how they play.
Here's how they score, though. Their defense forces turnovers in plus territory. That's the only way. Like I really think today, whichever defense can force more turnovers on the plus side and set up their offense for short drives is going to be the winner in this game. That's how I'm thinking.
I like the Steelers do that.
I don't see too many 70-yard drives being put together by either offense, and if there are, I do favor the Steelers because of their quarterback advantage.
Yeah, listen. I want to go back. I want to just give me 1 second to do another big picture thing, then I'll shut up. The NFL is terrible. The quarterbacking is terrible. It's terrible. This is the worst quarterbacking in the history of the league, and I've been watching NFL football. It's unwatchable. These quarterbacks are so bad. And you give me Aaron. There's two great quarterbacks right now. Maybe the guy in New England, maybe three. And Aaron Rodgers is a great quarterback. He would have played in the 70s. None of these other guys would have even been on the team in the 70s. So Aaron Rodgers would have played in the 70s. Give me the quarterback in a playoff game in a situation like this. Aaron Rodgers will be the difference. He will be the difference, and it's not complicated. I'm not. It's just that's the difference tonight. Oh, I told you that last week. I told you that take the quarterback. And I know the guy didn't miss a field goal, but you saw Aaron Rodgers and how clutch he was down the stretch. He'll do it again. Aaron Rodgers will find a way. I don't care how good this defense is. He'll find a way to score at least a couple touchdowns. I don't even see Houston scoring a touchdown tonight. Let me make that prediction.
Wow,
I don't even think they're scoring a touchdown.
That's a big one.
I don't think they're scoring a touchdown. Wow. They're no good. They're overrated. I wish I was on it. I wish Houston guys would have had me on there. That's why I could have done some controversy in Houston. They're overrated. I've watched them play a few times. That they do great at home. Their defense is okay. Now it's big boy football. Now it's the playoffs. Now it's one and done. Now it's pressure. Now it's a whole new game plan. And I love the way the Steelers defense played last week. They're going to put pressure on Stroud, and he's not going to be able to take it. He's not going to be able to take it. He's going to do something dumb. I know he doesn't do a turnover. They don't let him throw up. They can't run either. They can't score. Their offense is not any good. They just aren't any good. They got a good receiver.
Their offense is very pedestrian for sure. Jerry
it's pedestrian.
DePaula.
That's a great. We got DK. I'm not saying we, but I'm not a fanboy. I do love the Steelers in this game. That's why I'm saying we. DK Metcalf's going to be huge tonight. He's going to be huge, and so is Fryer.
He better be.
This is why they got it. I'm not an Aaron Rodgers fan either, but he's way better than the quarterbacks playing now. Aaron Rodgers will be a huge difference tonight. And if this game's close, which it may be, I mean, that's a guarantee that Aaron Rodgers is going to win it. The game's at home. It's in Pittsburgh. It's on Monday night. The fans are going to be going crazy. The conditions are going to be windy and ugly. It's going to be a slow field. This guy from Vegas, he's got to take into the just use your head, the obvious things. It's a road game in a very tough environment on a very bad field on a quarterback that's mediocre going up against a Hall of Fame quarterback and a Hall of Fame coach. It's crazy that the Steelers are 3-point dogs. I love the Steelers in this game. I love Steelers -3. And when I'm right on this one, will you please run the promo, John? I picked the Steelers by 2 last week. They won by 2 and nothing from you.
I just called HR and I said put an ad out immediately for a new editor. Jerry DePaula, can you any retort for this?
Jerry thinks. Well, who's going to win, Jerry?
Houston's going to win. Going to win a close game. But John Fedko, you talked about this being big boy football. We're in the playoffs now. What's the Steelers' record against playoff teams this year? 1-5.
Yeah.
The Texans, a team you just spent 15 minutes maligning, have won 3 games against playoff teams, and they got a great wide receiver, Nico Collins, just as good, maybe better than DK Metcalf.
He's good, yep.
And Stroud, has been up and down all year. I had him on my fantasy team this year. He wasn't great, but he had his moments this year. He's had his moments in other years. They have no running game. That's Woody Marks, the rookies.
Well,
their best.
Okay,
best
they have no running game. They have a very
favor. Go ahead.
They have no running game. They have a very good coach, and what their coach has done, he's done a very good job. He's a great coach. So what their coach has done is he's hid C.J. Stroud being mediocre. He's hidden. He doesn't want him throwing more than like 20 times a game. If Stroud's got to throw 25 or 30, there's no way Houston wins. So he's hidden. Well, now we're in the playoffs. You don't think the Steelers know this? The Steelers defensive guys are sitting in their room going, man, we got to make this a game about C.J. Stroud, man. We're going to try to make him win this game. And that's exactly what's going to happen here. And they're going to throw the house at him. You're going to see blitz packages. You're going to see aggressive defense. And it's going to be the difference. I just don't see Houston scoring. And to me, this isn't I don't think this is like brilliant analysis. It's just they can't score. They're not a good offense. They're just not. They have a great defense. But they don't have Lawrence Taylor. They're not like the Bears who had an okay quarterback or the Giants who had Sims who was pretty good. They got a mediocre quarterback with a very good defense that plays very well at home, that's done well in the regular season. Again, this is the playoffs in Pittsburgh, regardless of what the Steelers have done in the past. You got to take every game individually. I know the Steelers have a really bad playoff history. But remember, some of those games were on the road. Some of those games were against great quarterbacks. Some of those games, the Steelers went in very injured. I love everything that's set up to me in this game. Pro Steelers. They're getting Metcalf back. They got Aaron Rodgers at quarterback. They're at home. They're playing a team that plays in warm weather. They're playing a mediocre quarterback. I love the Steelers. I love this matchup. It's the best team they could have. If you were to say, John, pick a team you want to play in the first round, I'd have said Houston. They got the guy from Vegas saying it's the worst matchup. Get him back on, John. This is the best matchup.
Chargers
this is
would have been a better
matchup for the Steelers.
The guy wanted to do an interview without being on camera, John. I don't know if I can get him back when I actually put him on camera.
Okay.
Hey, Jerry DePaul, I got a question for you.
Yes, sir.
Question for you. What is the Texans' record against NFL playoff teams this year?
3-4.
2-4.
3-4.
Let's see. They lost to the Rams.
Jacksonville.
Well, I take that back. Well, it was 3-4. Yeah, that's right. They did split with Jacksonville.
Listen,
and then they lost to Seattle and Denver.
I love the guy from Vegas. Again, he should take shots at me. I hope he does. Listen, if you're putting money on C.J. Stroud winning a road playoff game, you're insane. If you put money on C.J. Stroud to win an NFL playoff game on the road, you are insane.
Well, I wouldn't put any money.
That's my analysis.
I wouldn't put my money on this game tonight. I put your money on it, though, John.
I would tell you when don't bet a game. I would bet. Bet the Steelers.
When was the last time the Steelers lost a Monday night game at home? Who was their coach?
91. It was
91 against Phil Simms and the Giants.
I love the Steelers in this game. I love them. I love them. And I love getting 3.5. I love that.
John might have been at that game, actually. I'm almost positive. You or Sam.
Either
you or Sam.
91.
Yeah, I was there.
But you know what? The Texans have a great pass rush. They have a great secondary. They've given up the fewest number of yards per game in the entire National Football League. And yeah, they're not a perfect team, but they won 12 games. The Steelers won only 10, and one of those losses was 2 of those losses were to Cincinnati and Cleveland. So the Steelers, I said all year, are an imperfect team. They're gonna make it a game tonight. It's gonna be a close game. It's gonna come down to the wire. And I tell you what, I've been a big Boswell fan for several seasons. But you know what? I think Houston has a better kicker. Now the win could be a factor tonight, but it's going to blow for both teams.
That's a good point.
And I think Fairbear has 44 field goals this year. 44.
That's a good point, but he's got to kick at that crazy stadium. It's the stadium. If this was a dome, I would agree with you. And if this game was in Houston, by the way, I'd be picking Houston. I would be, but it's not in Houston. So I don't want to
fans will be the difference. The fans will be the difference tonight, is what you're saying.
They will. Well, the fans and the conditions, Jerry. Remember, we all know that Houston's a really fast team. And give it to the Steelers. They know how to get their fields ready for their home team. That field's going to be in terrible condition for a reason. And it's going to make it a neutral field, and the wind's going to be blowing around. And I agree with you that they have a better field goal kicker because Boswell's come back to earth. But I wouldn't doubt at all this guy misses at Heinz. You saw what happened last week. It's a crazy field. Crazy stuff happens here, man. And there's some nun, some Felician sister is on her, that's a saint, is on her knees praying for the Steelers because that was a miracle last week, and they're going to get another one this week. They're winning. Listen, the only team I don't want to see if I'm a Steeler, and I hope the Steelers do go to the Super Bowl because I'm going to keep doing the show with Johnny. You know, I need the money. I want to keep doing this show. Okay, I love doing this show. And listen, it's not insane to think they're going to the Super Bowl. It's wide open in the AFC. You don't want to play Buffalo. You don't want to play Josh Williams.
They would play New England if they win, right?
Okay?
They'll win on the road if they win.
But New England's winnable. You saw they're winnable. I mean, they have a great quarterback. That kid's
You were talking about the bad quarterbacks in the National Football League. I think Caleb Williams and Drake May had pretty good games when the chips were done. They're
Caleb Williams is a joke. He's a joke. I mean, you can't get the ball with 37 seconds. I don't want to do a post game. I was screaming. I was telling my boys, this is why the NFL is unwatched. The guy got the ball with 37 seconds left. Now, if I'm a coach, and I could be a coach, if I'm a coach, the first thing you say to your quarterback is, you got to get rid of the ball. You got to make the decision instantly because the clock's running. We got no timeouts. What does he do? He goes back to pass and runs around. He blows 15 seconds on 2 plays. That would never happen in the 70s. These quarterbacks don't even know how to play quarterback. You teach that to a guy in high school. It was so incompetent, okay? And that's why you got a guy like Aaron Rodgers. You give Aaron Rodgers 37 seconds and all you need is a field goal. Trust me, he's going to get you down the field. At
They
least
better
he's going to
protect
get
Aaron Rodgers tonight. They got to protect him.
He's going to
He
get
can't
off
do that from the seat of his pants.
He won't get 3 seconds to throw very often. I can tell you that right now.
I don't know about that. Listen, they're going to roll him out. He'll get rid of the ball fast. He knows he's up against a great pass rush. I think the Steelers' offensive line's done really well. I mean, again, this Houston defense is on the road on a slow track. The fans will play a role in that. And Aaron Rodgers at home, man, I'm putting my money on Aaron Rodgers at home. I know he has a bad playoff record too. I know. But it's not against Houston, okay? He was going up against superstar quarterbacks, and Houston is a house of cards. Let's see if I'm wrong.
Well, you know what?
I'm not saying the Steelers are great. The NFC is a joke. The NFC is the way better teams are in the NFC. We don't have to worry about the NFC, okay? I mean the games yesterday. The Eagles game. Those are great teams, okay? The NFC is full of nobodies other than Josh Williams. It's wide open, man. This is the year to be the Steelers.
It definitely is. It definitely is.
And Houston Texans are a house of cards. They're overrated. They're going to lose.
You know what? The Steelers, have so many flaws in their game.
They do.
They do. Against the Ravens last week, it was embarrassing the way those veteran guys, Ramsey and those other veterans were letting those guys run free in the secondary. And again, Lamar Jackson's a better quarterback than C.J. Stroud.
I agree.
About it.
He is.
But Nico Collins is a pretty good receiver.
He is.
Tight end Schultz is a pretty good receiver. 88 receptions. That's going to be tough for them to handle tonight. Woody Marks is a rookie. He's kind of mediocre this season after a fast start. But I think it's going to be a kind of game. It's going to come down to the end with a field goal kicker that Houston has. I think that's going to make the difference. Maybe Boswell. I don't know what's wrong with him. You're right. Maybe something is wrong with him. But if he misses field goal tonight, well, that could be it. It shouldn't be because he's been around almost 10 years. It shouldn't be.
I know.
Yeah, it shouldn't be in his head. But they're going to need him tonight, John. They can't afford to miss an extra point kick. They can't afford to miss a makeable field goal tonight. They need to make those 50-yarders for them to beat this team tonight. And you got to keep Rodgers upright. If Rodgers is running for his life and throwing on the run and making bad throws because of that, because Willie Anderson is right in his face every time, that's going to be very difficult for the Steelers to win this game tonight. Because a pass rush and a good secondary are the keys to victory, recipe for victory in the NFL. And Houston has both things.
Well, the Steelers know that. So they know that Rodgers has to get rid of the ball fast. It's all going to be about yakking again. It's going to be about going out to Gainwell and swing passes. It's going to be throwing to Freiermuth. It's going to be set and play action from. I think you're going to see Rodgers at the line of scrimmage a lot of times. Instead of shotgun, they're going to try to do things that Houston thinks they're not going to do, and then you're going to. I think you're going to see at least one 50-yard play to DK Metcalf tonight. Here's my prediction: at least one 50-yard pass play to DK Metcalf. I'm taking Aaron Rodgers in this game. This game is an Aaron Rodgers special. Now when they have to go, whoever they're going to play next week, they're going to need a miracle. They don't need a miracle in this one. They just don't turn the ball over because Houston's not scoring. They're just not. And I don't think Aaron Rodgers is going to turn the ball over. And I like the Steelers in this game a lot. I like them to score 2 touchdowns.
Devil's advocate for a minute, John and John. If the Steelers don't win tonight, That's going to be another season of no playoff victories, going back to 2016. Yeah. What happened then? They won 4 of the last 5 games, and people were all high on the Steelers over the last month or so. But Tomlin loses tonight. Art Rooney's not going to fire him. But you know what? The fans are going to be, up in arms again, and it's going to be the same kind of thing. The same kind of people calling for fire Tomlin. Well, you're going to get the same thing if they lose tonight.
How they lose, I think, will play some sort of role in that. And I've said earlier,
John, I think this is how they lose. They haven't won a playoff game in 9 years.
I understand that, Jerry, but I think the first 15 minutes are going to dictate a lot as far as I'm concerned, right? They've been outscored 73-0 in the last 5 playoff games in the first quarter, right? They don't show up in the first quarter. If they show up in the first quarter and let's just say they lose a 1-point game in just last-second fashion, whatever it is, I'll look at it as some sort of progress. Am I happy about Tomlin coming back? Probably not, because at the end of the day, what has really changed? Absolutely nothing. But the first 15 minutes are going to play a big role. Bill Akins, go ahead.
I think this quarterback matchup plays a big thing. It plays a big role in this. I mean, when you look at it, Buffalo, what was it, 2023 against Buffalo? It was Josh Allen versus Mason Rudolph. Last year was Russell Wilson versus Jackson. I mean, you've got Aaron Rodgers versus C.J. Stroud. John, I agree with you. He's a lot, he's, it's CJ. Yeah, CJ Stroud is just he's just been a game manager at
That's
this
what he is.
time.
Yeah, right. He's a game manager, and teams have won Super Bowls with game managers. Both.
Sure, Trent Dilfer. Yeah,
Trent Dilfer's your perfect example of it. Yep, right. Yep. There's been game managers that are just, but we got the Steelers have a guy named Aaron Rodgers.
Are you sure you're not a fanboy?
I'm not a fanboy, but I mean, this is what drives me crazy about it's see the forest through the trees. Back sometimes need a guy like John Fedko, the guy, the old man on the couch to sit back and say, "Hey boys, hey guy from Vegas, there's a guy quarterback in the Steelers. His name is Aaron Rodgers. Did you see what he did last week when they had to have a big play? He's got ice in his veins." He's at home. The game is at Acura. It's crazy. They're 3.5-point dogs at home. It's crazy. He's at home. I know Houston's got a great defense. Aaron Rodgers is going to have a couple of huge plays. And if this game is close and Aaron Rodgers has the ball, he ain't going to be the idiot quarterback from Carolina and take 37 seconds and run the clock down. He's going to win the game.
Well,
if Aaron Rodgers has a chance to win, he's going to win the game.
The Steelers have lost playoff games at home with a quarterback named Ben Roethlisberger, too.
Yeah, I know. I've been there, Jerry. I've been there. I was at the Jets game.
I know you've been there,
man.
What I'm saying is just because they're at home doesn't mean they're going to win this game. They've lost playoff games at home before when Ben was their quarterback.
I agree, but Jerry, I can look back at every single one of those games, and we can go back and look at it and give you a reason why
Their defense
you could have maybe seen that coming.
And their defense is mediocre this year.
I don't see that. I don't see Houston scoring tonight. It's the obvious elephant in the room. They're not going to score. They're just not going to score.
Yeah. The only
They're
thing
not going to score. That's just
right.
Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm an idiot. Maybe they'll score 35 points. They're not going to score. I just don't see them scoring. Maybe I'm wrong. That's my analysis.
They're going to need.
I love the Steelers.
I'll say that C.J. Stroud will need he'll need a plus territory for a touchdown. Let's just say that.
Yeah.
I think he can get them if he starts a few drives in his territory. Could probably get him into position for a few field goals. I do think points will be limited tonight.
They will be.
Right. Plus territory will be key for them to get a touchdown. Go ahead, Bill.
Let me give you one key to the game, and I think we mentioned it real quick. You mentioned it, Joe. We all know. All of us have covered the Steelers forever, so we all know the Steelers' playoff history. They get blown out early. It's like the first. If this game is within 3 after the first quarter, either way, if it's within 3 and it's not a blowout like it's always been, I'm going to put a flat out lock on the Steelers. I would go to that FanDuel and start throwing money at them. If this game is close, the only way Houston wins this game is if it's like all the others, like Houston's up 14-0 in the first, and now the Steelers got to come from behind, and that great Houston defense can do all kinds of stuff. But if this is a close game, the closer it is, the more it's going to be C.J. Stroud versus Aaron Rodgers. You hear my stat. 3 points either way after the first quarter. Steelers lock.
What I'm concerned about is that Houston defense getting points off turnovers.
Correct. They could.
Not to say that that's, but
they could.
And I was asking Coach Haley about this earlier, but I said when you look at it, Houston, they don't. They kind of buck the trend in the modern, complex, disguised schemes of defenses this day and age in the NFL. It's pretty simple.
They're great. They're great athletes. Yep.
Yeah, they do cover 1, cover 3, and occasionally quarters.
They let them play, man. They let the thoroughbreds run.
Yeah, it's a 4 down, 1 gap front, and it's just the simplicity. It allows players to just understand their assignments, and they play fast without having hesitation, right? This defense, I think, is going to slow down on this playing in Pittsburgh and on this turf.
On this turf.
Yeah. So that's one feather in the cap of the Steelers, I think. So
I agree with that.
Fair assessment. All right, Jerry DePaula, what do you have to say here?
Well, you're talking about the Steelers, the Houston defense slowing down in the cold weather and the turf tonight. What about the Steelers defense? The Steelers defense doesn't have the same kind of athletes, younger athletes that Houston's defense have. They don't have the secondary that Houston's defense have. T.J. Watt gets a sack every other game. That's not the way Willie Anderson plays. Willie Anderson and Hunter have combined for almost 30 sacks between them this season, getting almost 15 each. And that's going to be a big problem for the Steelers' offensive line. Is getting better, a little bit better than it was earlier in the season, better than it was last year for Russell Wilson. But they're still not a great offensive line. And I think to beat Houston, you need a great offensive line because those guys are going to come after them, and there's not going to be any room for Rodgers to throw. If they bracket DK Metcalf tonight, who's going to step up among the other receivers to make a play? Maybe Freiermuth, maybe. Calvin Austin, he was okay against that Baltimore secondary, which is bad, but can he get open against the Houston secondary, which is great? And I think that's going to be the difference. A pass rush and the secondary guys who are going to stick to those receivers like glue. And I think that's going to be a problem for Rodgers. He's going to have to hold the ball longer than he wants to. He's going to get sacked 2 or 3 times, maybe early. And maybe he'll even put the ball on the ground. He puts the ball on the ground and Houston gets it in plus territory, like John Phillips said, then I think it's going to be an easy touchdown, for Houston, because Schultz, the tight end, and Nico Collins, their wide receiver, can make plays in the passing game, and they will against the Steelers tonight.
All right, time for predictions. We'll start with John Fedko.
17-6 Steelers. Already said it.
Okay,
17-6 Steelers.
Wow. Okay. Jerry DePaula.
2013 Houston.
These gentlemen tear it up every time they're on our show. Jerry DePaula, John Fedko.
I hope they win tonight, John.
We're going to be talking next week, baby. And we're going to need that Felician sister to really pray for a miracle next week.
If we can't do this next week.
Go ahead, John.
We're going to do it next week. We're going to do it. I'm telling you, we're going to do it next week.
I'm hoping.
And according to Jerry DePaula, instead of me paying Tina, I should just send it right to FanDuel and put it on the Steeler money line.
Absolutely, yes.
John, wait a minute. Let's back up. Let's say what you said. Let's see how the first quarter goes.
Goes. That's fair.
Let's see. I mean, we've seen this act before, where all of it, the game starts and it's like all of a sudden the Steelers get blown out. I mean, we've seen it before.
Points in the first quarter. They got a streak going forever, scoring only 7 points. 7 points or in the first quarter. It's like a 2 or 3 season streak going on. They got to break that, I think, to get a leg up on winning this game.
They do, but they got a guy named Aaron Rodgers, and I think he'll be the difference. I don't see the Steelers putting up a ton of points in the first quarter, but I don't see Houston scoring in the first quarter. So I think if the Steelers they got to keep this thing close and let Aaron Rodgers try to win it in the fourth quarter. They know that. That's the Steelers' game plan. I think they'll execute it.
Gentlemen, thank you as always. We hope to talk to you next week.
We will. Okay, I love you guys.
You're the best.
Enjoy the evening, John.
Thanks,
nice
John.
talking to you.
Love you guys.
John. See you guys.
Greatest.
John Fedko, Jerry DePaula. What more can be said? There he is right there, the best. I'm telling you right now, I love it. I absolutely love it. Bill Akins, hello.
Hey.
I'm just it's such fun with him. It really, I mean, it's nice to be able to work with these two again. And I don't have any delusions of grandeur. I don't ever anticipate having 680,000 people following us on YouTube like Tree does. But if we keep doing shows like this and grow a small audience and find a little place, I think it'll be. I've enjoyed thoroughly doing this year. Okay. And when I came across you at Riverhounds games, and kind of started talking about this in June, I started to kind of put some wheels in motion. This has just been such a blast to do this year. We're going to wrap up around 6:30, 6:45 tonight, folks. But the fact of the matter is that when you can get people like this to come on and just entertain. We've had some great people in the chat with us today. Appreciate all your comments, guys. Checking in with us and being a part of the show. We're growing as a pregame show, and I think it'll evolve in year two. But they just provide such levity, and we're working on getting some help for more content. Obviously, this is I have a full-time job. It keeps me extremely busy. I'm fortunate that my owners put up with me. If I wasn't so good at my job, they probably wouldn't. But they allow me to take a few hours of PTO on a Monday when it's January, and in my line of work things are slow, and you want to put people to work. But to be able to do this, at this stage of my life and my career has been just it's just been fun, and it's more hobby than job, and I don't ever think it'll be anything more than a hobby. But if we can, get to a point where, we've got a bigger audience and things are good, I think the sky's the limit for 2026. I really do. I've added 2 shows of my own. We'll get to 4 at some point. We've got Bill's 2 shows airing on our channels right now. I think that there's a lot to be said about what 2026 is going to provide in terms of more content, and that's a good thing. So, as my phone's blowing up with employees asking about 65 different things, all I'm trying to think about is what's my 12-leg parlay for $5 going to look like, Bill Akins? What do you think?
I don't know.
Not a gambler. You see, all this year with me hanging, you've probably seen enough of my losses to just continue to not gamble. I am plus money for the year, by the way. I am plus money. All I try to do is hit these little parlays and keep me in action. My wife's like, well, how much have you bet? How much have you lost? It's like, I said, I've won this year. I've hit 8 parlays this year, and I know that I've spent a lot less. Well, I wouldn't say a lot less, but I spent less than what I've actually won. So I know I'm plus this year, just starting from the beginning of January on. It's more entertainment for me than anything else, and I know that's how these big companies make their money. They prey on young people coming in and just, play this parlay, play this, try this. $10 wins you this. And they're just horrible gambles. It's gambling. Obviously, you're not trying to put any numbers together in terms of actually looking at the breakdown in terms of what a sports bet or professional is going to do in terms of formula and looking at things in that sort of manner. Okay, can we try to get a few of those sound clips? Let's see if we can pull a sound clip or 2 up. I want to start in chronological order, Bill. That way it's a little easier for you and a little easier for me. So I came across this channel that had a bunch of sound, and I tried to get them on the show, but they wouldn't come on. But I thought to myself, hey, let's see if we can, take a little bit of the sound that they have from this particular channel, and let's see if we can just play some of these. And these are various clips that we're going to play that kind of led up the week. This is DeMarco Ryans. DeMarco Ryans, head coach of the Houston Texans, talking about Aaron Rodgers being one of the smartest quarterbacks to play the game.
Aaron's, he's done it at a high level for a long time because he's probably one of the smartest quarterbacks to play the game. Does a really good job, understands defense really well, but for us, that doesn't change. We got to go out. It's about the guys that are playing. Like, it's about our guys just playing together collectively, going against a really good opponent.
Do you have any coordinators throughout the league?
Aaron's, he's
All
doing
right,
it at a
that's
high level
DeMarco
for
Ryans. A little bit from him. We're going to go to Texans GM Nick Caserio, talking about Cam Hayward here in a minute. And, look, Ryans is giving his, Rodgers his flowers, and rightfully so. Aaron's career is has been well documented. Obviously, one of the top 10 best quarterbacks probably to ever play the game. One can argue where Ben Roethlisberger falls in that category. But certainly interesting comments from DeMarco Ryans. Let's go to Texans GM Nick Caserio talking about Cam Hayward, who we're going to need today to make some big plays. Go ahead.
You're not wrong, Johnny. And I'd say not that everybody just looks at statistics and production, but you can actually look at it on paper. He's had two of the best years of his career the last two seasons in terms of sacks, total pressures, tackles. Yeah. He's a high volume tackler, which is a defensive tackle. You don't always see that. He's just so instinctive. He's so smart. He's got a really good playing style. He's very strong. He's hard to move. He has a good understanding. It's almost like the inverse of the quarterbacks we were talking about, but it applies to Hayward. Calais Campbell, kind of the same thing. These guys have been in the league 15, 16, 17 years. They've seen just about everything. So they probably have an understanding of what's going on. They use that to their advantage. And he's been as durable as any player in the league. So honestly, I don't want to say he's underrated, but probably people don't talk enough about Cam Hayward as much as they should, because he impacts the game as much as any defensive tackle that's in our league currently. You're not wrong.
Some comments from the Texans GM on Cam Hayward. Will this be Cam Hayward's last game potentially? Who knows? We will find out soon enough. Let's go to Mike Tomlin. We want to talk about Mike Tomlin. We want to get some comments from Mike talking about the Texans offense and being a top-notch group. Go ahead with Mike Tomlin, please.
And so excited about that. Now I'll turn my attention toward Houston. Man, they're a top-notch group. They need no endorsement from me. They're winners of 9 straight. And when you win 9 straight games, there's usually a mode of operation, and it certainly is. They're a group that takes very good care of the football as a collective. I think they have 10 turnovers on the season. That's number 1 in football. I think they're number 3 with 27 takeaways on defense. And so you talk about complementary football. They got an offense that's the best in the world at securing it. They got a defense that's 3rd best at taking it away. And I think that's the building blocks of 9 consecutive wins. I'll start first on offense. I think
Mike Tomlin talking to the media on Tuesday about the Houston Texans. Let's talk a little bit. Let's get some thoughts from DeMarco Ryans on Jaylen Warren and Kenny Gainwell and their ability to create yardage after the catch.
You watch him run the football, it's really impressive to see a young guy run the ball the way he runs the ball. He's small guy, but he's tough. He's physical, runs it really well. And Gainwell, another receiver that steps in, and he's done a really great job as well running the football. But the thing where they make a lot of plays is, both backs, whichever guy's in, what they do with the ball in their hand once the ball is out. Aaron has done a great job of not making bad plays. He gets the ball to his check down very quickly, and those guys, make some productive plays off of catching the ball, even behind the line of scrimmage. They make a lot of guys miss tackles. They both have really good contact balance. They have the speed, the toughness, the physicality to really gain yards, after the catch, and they're top in the league at receiving yards after the catch. So it'll be a tough challenge to get these guys on the ground. It's going to take everybody from our D-line coming out of the stack, our second-level guys really securing the tackles as best we can.
I'm going to bring Bill Akins in here for a minute. I don't think we've talked much about Kenny Gainwell. We've hardly said anything about Jaylen Warren today. He had 5 receptions last week, and he had a big second half running the football. Let's talk about the needs from those two today. I've said 90 yards rushing is a good number for us against this defense. I think it is. I don't know if it's enough, but I think that, given how good they are against the run, and defensively just overall. Maybe a big evening from one of those two guys or a combination of two helps propel this team to victory tonight.
I agree. They need to rush for, between Warren and Gainwell. They need to go over 100 yards. I don't know against this defense, John. I don't know if it's going to, be able to come to fruition on that, but you need that. Here's another thing. I think, you got DK Metcalf back. We said it before. That's going to open up the field for other guys. Utilize him. Go deep with him. Have that deep threat with him. Like I said, it could open up the field for other guys. Freiermuth, right?
Right.
What do you think about like Jonnu Smith? Maybe get him involved in,
where's he been in the last few weeks?
I mean, you going to put him in the backfield again? What are they going to do with that? I mean, are they going to, it's just. Listen, I think I said it earlier. I think if you're the Steelers and you're looking at from an offensive standpoint, I think you have to have the Dave Wannstedt approach of every possession needs to end in a kick, whether that be a field goal, whether that be an extra point, or a punt that pins them back. But every possession needs to end in a kick, and you need to utilize and make the most of each possession. And you can't be forced into long third downs, from this Texans defense, because they're going to try and do that. They're good at winning the first and second down battles, and they're good at forcing teams to go into that long third down situations. And you want to avoid that at all costs. But yeah, definitely, you need to get this running game going. You need a big game from both those guys. Split the carries up. What do you think? I'm thinking maybe try Gainwell a little bit more than Warren. Not to say that Warren doesn't bring that explosiveness, but I don't know. Gainwell has just kind of in the recent weeks he's kind of been the bell cow a little bit. John, what do you think?
I want to start with Jonnu Smith since you brought him up initially. He's had a disappearing act the last 5 weeks. A total of 8 receptions. 8 receptions over the last 5 games, of which he caught no balls against Baltimore and Detroit. Both of those were victories. He had 1 catch last week for a whopping 2 yards. Prior to that, he caught 5 passes against Cleveland for a whopping 18 yards. He has been null and void, basically, in this offense. And he's the guy that Art Smith has favored over Pat Freiermuth.
Well, yeah, and
he's completely been and he persona non grata in his offense this year.
I hate to sound like a broken record, but he said he had 88 receptions last year on the Dolphins with Tua, for crying out loud. So what is we've heard the rumors of Rodgers not liking the way he runs routes in practice and not being comfortable with that aspect of his game. I mean, God, you brought him here. I mean, you put him in the backfield some too. They're trying to. It's just like, come on.
Well, there's that clip of them literally in a play in Detroit where Smith is trying to run top, and then he kind of stops, and Rodgers like, "What the F are you doing?
What the F are you doing?" Yeah,
and I cleaned it up. I wanted to clean it up just a little bit.
I mean, there's obviously some malcontent with Rodgers and him. I mean, obviously it's
Well, he's not figured out the offense, which is a problem. He hasn't figured out the offense, yet they keep trotting him out there, and they just haven't thrown the ball much. Now, Freiermuth did get involved a little bit more last week, but he only had 3 catches. So that was he had a big catch down the middle to set up he set up the Gainwell touchdown with that deep pass play down the middle, which was good. But, look, it's not enough for me. 3 catches for Freiermuth, not enough targets. Not enough targets.
Same thing in that Cleveland game. They got him. They got the ball to him late. And those last couple drives. Where the hell was that all game?
Right. All right. So those just a few clips there. We want to. We appreciate Texan Stressins or whatever the heck their name are. Appreciate them doing all the heavy lifting for us. Next time, answer my DMs. I'm just kidding. I didn't expect to be able to book anybody this year, to be quite honest with you, right? Like in terms of like guests, I wasn't sure what I was I called in a few favors early on, But overall, I'm pleased with the guests that we've had this year, and that includes our next guest. He has been a foundational rock in sports talk radio for 35 plus years. You've heard him probably on your favorite network at one point in time since the mid-90s. Currently for the last, I believe now, year 23 about to start at SiriusXM's NFL Radio, my good buddy, Zig Fracassi. We're going to bring Zig on there. Zig, you're in the dark, but that should be standard fare for you. How you doing, Zig?
There he is. I'm the lantern. There we go.
There it is. Yeah. Okay, there we go. Now we see the light.
Reaction. How are you, brother?
It's like that scene in oh geez, oh god, what the Belushi film, Blues Brothers. Now, do you see the light? Yes, I think that was James Brown, maybe that they uttered those words.
Cue, let there be light.
Let there be light, indeed. Zig, how are you? How did you? Let's start with the weekend's football, beginning with Saturday. Carolina Panthers put up a pretty good fight at home. Most people didn't anticipate that. The LA Rams move on.
Yeah, and, a lot of people didn't think it would be much of a game in the regular season too, JP, and that was where Carolina would stun the Rams at home. That was the game Stafford had come in with no interceptions in like 6 straight starts, threw a pick 6 in that one. Carolina pulled the upset. So I think deep down the Rams had a respect for Carolina. Give them credit. They hung tough with them. Jalen Coker gave them all sorts of fits. But I think in the end, the inexperience of Bryce Young showed. Stafford, cool and composed and poised under pressure, got the Rams the win. Hard-fought victory, but now they're on to the Bears.
What happened to the Green Bay Packers Saturday night? They were up 21-3 at the half, and oh my goodness, what a complete and total melt. Fourth quarter, they give up 25 points, and they lose to their bitter rivals. Is Matt LaFleur done in Green Bay?
That is, you know what? That's a valid question because there have been contract questions about him going into, this offseason anyway, John. So he's supposed to meet with Carmen Palici's son. I believe his name's Ted. He's the new president of the Packers. So we'll see how this goes. Just the way that this game shook down, they were up 21-3, but they played the second half like, well, Chicago's not going to catch us. Let's basically just go through the motions. And sure enough, Chicago came back 6 times during the regular season. Caleb Williams, say what you want about him, like the first 3 quarters. He looks like freaking Superman in the 4th. And 7th time this year, Chicago is able to pull it out. They have a thing going for Ben Johnson. I think they love playing for him. Defense still ain't great, but you know what? They made plays when they needed to. Should be a good game Saturday or Sunday with the Rams and the Bears.
Hey, Zig, do you think that's why the Packers were favored in that game because of Chicago's defense? Because I thought, I don't know, I thought I was a little shocked by that. The Bears being at home, and granted, Williams hasn't had any playoff experience, but. I really thought that was probably the reason why the Packers were favored, right? I mean,
yeah, Bill, I think that's a fair point. And obviously, Jordan Love, even though he's still young in his career, he's got a few playoff starts under his belt already. And sometimes, when they factor in the lines on these games, they even, you would give 3 to 4 points for home field. So even after that, if you assume after that, Green Bay was still the favorite. That's, I think, probably why the odds makers, probably more than anything, the experience angle.
Zig, your favorite team, the Buffalo Bills, victorious yesterday on the road. This is Josh Allen's opportunity, is it not? No Patrick Mahomes, no Lamar Jackson. They're going to have to do it on the road, but they certainly beat a pretty good Jaguars team yesterday.
You know what? He exhibited literally, JP, being a buffalo on that run. I literally thought it was a stampede, for goodness sakes. Go Go ahead.
He's so hard to stop. I mean, his tush push is not. It's unlike anything that the Eagles or anybody else can possibly run because of his just. He literally is a bison. He's literally a buffalo. He really is. It's not unfair. I mean, it's unfair to try to think that you can stop it as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And then, of course, they ruled it at the 1 yard line, and they went ahead and scored. I know some people were saying, well, maybe they should have took a knee or two, drain the clock, but I don't think you can risk it doing that. So even they said after the game they did the right thing. And then, of course, Jacksonville did have some time left, about 50 seconds, but they had no timeouts. And then Trey White batted the ball up in the air. Lawrence's pass, and Bishop, the safety out of Utah, Cole Bishop, made the interception. That's kind of the way, JP, the Bills have won all year long. Ride the coattails of number 17, and that bend but not break and not great defense seems to make plays when they need to. Now a shorter week into the altitude in Denver. That's going to be tough. And obviously, look at what happened, John, in this game yesterday. What made Allen's heroics even more incredible, the fact that he had to be checked for concussions, one thing. Then he banged his hand on somebody's helmet, and he was wincing noticeably when throwing the ball. And then on that run for the touchdown, almost twisted his knee. So the guy literally was WebMD, for goodness sakes, but he made it through. And now, again, that's why Buffalo's where they're at. But again, this is going to be a tall order. First ever time they're meeting Denver in the Mile High City for the playoffs. And just a little storyline. I think, what was it? John Elway was on a podcast with Shannon Sharp, and I think Shannon may have asked him about a regret. How about this, JP? When John Elway was running the Broncos, he wanted Josh Allen, but he couldn't sell the people on it, who were making the decision. I'm like, hell, you're the greatest quarterback in franchise history. You're a Pro Football Hall of Famer. You don't need to sell anybody on anything, but apparently they couldn't get anybody to agree on Denver taking Josh Allen. We all know Buffalo did, and as they say, the rest is history.
By the way, you've got a huge fan in Virginia. Karen Sampson says she thinks Zig is cute. There you go, Zig.
Thanks.
How about that? All right, Zig, let's get into the Steeler matchup. Let's talk about tonight's game. Lots obviously been made about the defense that the Texans employ. A great defensive line. Their cornerbacks are real strong. How do the Steelers counter this? How do they put 17, 20 points on the board tonight?
It's a great question. They'll try to win one for Mike Renfro. No, I'm just kidding.
I just saw that anniversary was last week, by the way.
Yeah.
I remember that game. I was 10. I'll never forget watching that game, and I thought he was in. And I was, a 10-year-old Steeler fan. I'm like, oh my God, he just got a touchdown. That game was close. They would have actually taken the lead had they gotten that call right.
Yes, absolutely. And that was the second time that they had played in the championship game. Pittsburgh wiped the floor with them the first time, but I thought Houston had closed the gap. But anyway, as I kid with that one, you're absolutely right. This could be the best pair of ends in the NFL tandem-wise with Anderson and obviously Danielle Hunter. If I'm Pittsburgh, I gotta try. They've been utilizing Warren and Gainwell out of the backfield, maybe some short passes. JP, I think that's an area where they're going to have to continue to go. I know their corners, Stingley and Lassiter are among the best pair in the league. So, but you have DK back. I think you have to, even if you're airing it, you've got to make the effort at least a couple times to try to stretch the field with DK, because to me, he's your most dynamic game breaker there. So there's no question that Pittsburgh's probably facing the best defense they've faced all year long.
Well, and Zig, I think having DK back is going to open it up for other guys too, like Freiermuth. I think
you can't cover everybody.
Right. Well, yeah, you get that deep threat though. It can open up the field for other guys.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So I was asking your buddy Coach Haley, I was asking him earlier about this defense of the Texans, and for me, it's a pretty simple scheme. I mean, Matt Burke, it's not the modern trend of the complex disguised schemes. It's just simple. You got the core coverages. You got core cover 1. You got cover 3. You got cover 4. You got 4 down, 1 gap front. There's nothing really. It's simple, and it allows these players to, as I said before, understand their assignments, and they play fast without having to hesitate. Right? I mean, that's my assessment of it. What do you think? I mean.
Boy, you almost sound like better than Coach Haley, for goodness sake. I thought, no, I think Bill's onto something there, and I think that's just a testament, to D'Amico Ryans, who, let's not forget, he was a terrific player in his own right, and we saw what he did with that San Francisco defense when they ultimately had their success. That's why I think it's simplicity. Yet these guys are able to know their assignments. It's not complicated. You just do what you have to do. So, Al-Zassir and Toto, those are a couple good linebackers that don't really get a whole lot of mention either. So, again, for Pittsburgh, if you get DK to stretch things out, then that maybe frees up Freiermuth and or Austin for some of these other guys to make plays. But make no mistake, this has got to work out good for them, for the Pittsburgh offense. And on the other side, too, I got to think that this is either going to be the sort of, get off the pot or do what you need to for C.J. Stroud, because this is the time now where I think if we start to find out really how good a quarterback is, and we know he's pretty good, but to win on the road in a playoff game, and the Texans, I don't think they've ever won a road playoff game in their history. So this would be a first for them, and I think it would be a coming out party for C.J. Stroud.
Yeah, it would be. They're 0 for 6. They have not won a road playoff game under him. Yeah, 0 for 6. And he's heading into a contract year, right? He'll be at the end of his third season in the NFL. He'll have his fourth. Yep. He's on his rookie deal. So, obviously next season, a big year for him. And, look, he had some regression last year. No question about it. Bounce back. Better this year, efficient. That's probably it, and that's what you need from a kid like him. Look, again, we've talked about this. I've certainly mentioned it. It is the hardest position to be successful at. It has the most attention. It makes the most money. All of those, things that are very true about playing quarterback in the National Football League. These are fair. All of it's all fair in terms of criticism and things of that nature. He has not hurt them this year. Right, he has not hurt them. He did win a playoff game last year. I will say that as well. Right, he has won playoff games in his first 2 seasons. So there was that. He did struggle last year, but they did win a playoff game. So there's that to talk about. If and I think that this is the difference in this game today, Zig. Whatever defense can force a turnover on the plus side of the field, and if you can get a couple of them on the plus side of the field, you help your offenses that are going to be struggling today against these defenses. Conversely, for the Steelers, they can't allow Stroud to beat them either. Go ahead.
Absolutely. I was just going to ask, because I haven't seen anything to this effect. Did Davis Mills ultimately make the trip to Pittsburgh, the Texans' backup? Because that could potentially – that was a thing yesterday, because he did not travel with the team for a personal matter, and he was listed as questionable. So I don't know if he traveled with the team to Pittsburgh or not, because God forbid if CJ gets hurt, Davis Mills has done a really nice job filling in the past. So that's
he beat Jacksonville. He beat Jacksonville.
Right. Yeah, absolutely.
So there was that part of it as well.
Experience, so – I don't know if he made the trip or not. That'd be something to watch over.
Okay. All right. Quick prediction, Bill. Do you have anything else for Zig?
No, okay. No.
All right, Zig. We're going to wrap you up. Quick prediction on the game tonight, sir.
This might be the night Houston gets it. I'll say 23-20 Texans.
Zig Fracassi, Sirius XM's NFL Radio. 20-plus years there. He joins us every single week. Zig, good talking to you, buddy. Well, let's hope we can do it again next week.
Anytime, JP. Bill, good seeing you, bud.
Good seeing you too, Zig. Take care.
All right,
Take care, guys.
Cassie, kind with his time. as we are going to wrap up our show a little bit early tonight. All right,
Yeah,
about 5
Davis
minutes.
Mills is not actually.
Okay.
He did not make the trip.
Okay, so hey, you knock out a starting quarterback, but then they've got somebody who can back up and has been effective, has been a starter in the league, as Zig had mentioned.
Big.
All right, predictions, starting with Bill Akins. Bill, go ahead.
Well, it's crazy as this sounds. I think it's 13-9 Steelers. I think I think Fairbairn is going to kick 3 field goals, and that's going to be it. And I think the Steelers are going to put 13 up on the board, and that's going to be a 13-9 win by the Steelers. How about that?
That's an interesting number. That's an interesting number, a historic number here in the Pittsburgh area. Total is 38 in this game.
Yeah.
I think this game ends 23-20 Steelers. I think there will be more points than people are going to anticipate. I think these quarterbacks are going to throw the ball with some efficiency. I think the defenses are going to get obviously, look, of the two, you're more worried about the Steeler defense than you are the Texans defense. But Aaron Rodgers, I just think he's on a mission. And as I've mentioned earlier, and I've mentioned for the past week, you could say what you want about, they may have won 23 straight Monday night games, but, they've only won 1 this year and maybe 2 in the last 2 years. And history has a way of repeating itself.
Right.
It just does. Okay.
It does.
And historically speaking, under Mike Tomlin, who's never lost a home Monday night game ever, okay, being an underdog, being in this position where nobody's predicting that they're going to win this game, I said it last week, I've said it in the past, this is where his teams respond. They respond in these moments. And I do think the Steelers defense will give them, I should say the Texans offense, a lot of fits. And I just have a real sneaky suspicion. Hey, Ethan is King. How you doing? I have a sneaky suspicion that this offense will find a way to get one-on-one coverage with Pat Freiermuth or a Calvin Austin or an MVS or an Adam Thielen and extend some drives. I think Aaron Rodgers will chuck the ball 40 times tonight. I think they will get enough yardage in situations with their running game to keep them out of harm's way, right, on 3rd and long. And I think Aaron Rodgers, I think this offensive line has played much better than we could even.
Oh yeah,
like
Dylan Cook.
Season,
he's been great.
The way the season started out, we didn't know if Rodgers would be upright at this time of year.
Right. Yeah.
We thought he'd be sandwiched into a 6-foot box.
Patano, I think has done well.
Yeah, and they got
Dylan Cook. Like I said, he's great.
And the funny thing is, somebody mentioned the 3 of their 5 current starters they got in the same draft class.
Yeah.
What was it, last year? 2 years ago? I can't remember what it was. But the point of the matter is that these are games that Mike Tomlin wins. I don't think it'll be the rock fight initially. That we might see a slow starting first half. I still think it'll be an electric fourth quarter, second half. That's the way these games kind of go. Everybody's thinking this game's going to go Texans in the under. I say Steelers in the over, 23-20, your final score. We're going to wrap up our show. I want to thank everybody for participating, especially Urinating Tree and also Rob Mish from Las Vegas. Tree followed us on X, which is always very nice. And it was just great having that guy on. That Cross, man.
Yeah,
I was just, great. He's got a great shtick that he's going.
I knew John Fedka was gonna. He saw that. I knew he was gonna like that.
Oh my God! And that's when he mentioned to me in we were just kind of DMing one another on X about this today, and he was just like, man, and he just said he just sent me a text saying it was an honor to come on. Like, oh my God, this guy's got massive following, and and he's just a super. And the fact that we worked together unbeknownst to one another for 4 years over at the Fan makes me like him even more, because that was a tough place to work, man. I mean, for those that want to get into the media business, I'm going to tell you right now, choose wisely. And this young man chose wisely. He decided to invest in himself, in a medium that allows you to be successful and his personality and everything else. I mean, it was just amazing. And having him on with Fedco, because he was like, oh my God, I can't believe you have John Fedco. I'm like, this guy's looking at who we are, which is really cool. And that's what I like about people like that. I'll always side with people like that for sure. Okay, let's hope we talk tomorrow. I will tell you that Tuesday night, 7 o'clock, Pittsburgh Sports Tonight. I will be on the air at 7, and we will do a special Wednesday show because we are not on the air tonight. So Pittsburgh Sports Tonight, 7 o'clock. I'll have the whole recap. We'll get some sound. We'll kibitz about it all, and maybe we'll be talking about a divisional matchup in New England, right? Maybe we'll be talking about that and possibly a victory on the road against our most bitter rival in playoff action the last 25 years. And perhaps we'll be coming back to Acrisure for an AFC championship matchup against the Buffalo Bills, because the Bills are going to go to Denver and they're going to beat the Broncos. Deck the halls, right?
Yeah.
Deck the halls with, I forget how the Fed, or not the Fedco, I forget how the Myron Cope.
Deck the Broncos. They're just Yonkos.
Deck the Broncos. They're just Yonkos. Maybe we can play that in a couple weeks. Who knows? Let's get past the Houston Texans first. Thanks to everybody. Mike Ostie, Paul Zeiss, Todd Haley, Jerry DePaula, John Fedco, Bill Akins, Zig Fracassi, of course, Urinating Tree, and Rob Mish. I am John Phillips. So happy to be here on this Steelers Monday, playoff Monday, home game at Acrisure. Steelers and Texans in about 2 hours. Let's see how things play out, and let's hope next Sunday we're back here at North Park Lounge and doing a show. I also want to thank, real quickly before we go, I want to thank Arch Masonry and Restoration, North Park Lounge, Richland Hilltop Event Center, amazing people, Mark Baranowski, entire NPL restaurant group, incredible people, Arch Masonry, incredible people, brick masons, block masons, concrete finishers, construction labor help. If you're not working and you want to get to work, Arch is working year-round. They can train you. They take skilled craftsmen. Great benefits program, excellent and competitive wages, 412-564-5733, archmasonryinc.com. to learn more. Bill, thank you. If this is the end, I think we put together a great effort this year. I really did.
Absolutely.
I felt like we were going to beat the Ravens last week. I said I feel like we're going to be here this week. I feel like we're going to be here next Sunday.
So do I.
I really do. Watch it be a 31-0 at the end of the half. Everybody be calling for Tomlin's head. Absolutely a Donnybrook. We'll have a Donnybrook tonight. It's going to be a real competitive game. First 15 minutes will tell you everything. If the Steelers are close or ahead, I think they can win this game. We'll see how it all plays out. For the entire cast and crew, I want to thank everybody in the chat. Ethan is king. Dino, Karen for checking in. Cody, all of you that have been in the chat for the last 3.5 hours, thank you so much. We'll talk to you tomorrow at 7 o'clock here on this channel for Pittsburgh Sports Tonight. And let's go Steelers as they take on the Houston Texans tonight. Good night, everybody.